Good evening, please come to order. Yes, welcome to the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Finance Authority, regular meeting agenda. Today is Wednesday, February the 2nd, 2022. It is 6:31, and we'll go ahead and take roll call. Mayor Goodman is here. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Councilmember Ureña, I was advised he would be here a little bit later. Councilmember Gloria Romo.
Here.
Councilmember Rosiarela Fernandez.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to AB 361, approved by the Governor of California on September the 16th, 2021. And some or all of City Council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference. Pursuant to Imperial County Public Health Department guidelines, City Council members are now open. City Council meetings are now open for public attendance at 100% capacity of the council chambers, and all persons entering the City Hall will be required to wear a face mask. Public participation will continue to be available in the following ways. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via live stream at http://communityspectrum.org live at 6:30 p.m. or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com, City of Calexico, California. Members of the public will be able to make public comments in the following ways. In-person comments, submit public comments via email by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, February the 2nd, 2022 to our City Clerk, Gigi Garcia at calexico.ca.gov or via fax to 760-768-2103. You may also make public comments via Zoom from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device. If you're going to make public comments via Zoom, the phone number is 1-669-900-6833, and the webinar ID is 812-2272-9409, and the pass code is 410848. Please stand up for a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Garcia, can you lead us? Sure. Thank you.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Ms. Romo, could you do the invocation for us?
Thank you. City of Calexico.
The invocation.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
The mission statement.
Mrs. Stamen, no?
Yeah, but I'm going to have her do the invitation first.
Okay.
First? Okay. Jesus Christ, thank you for this day and for the opportunity to have this council meeting. We ask you to help us understand every issue of this agenda that we will work on today. Thank you, Lord, for your mercy. Blessed be Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. I'll do a mission statement pledge. Ready, begin.
Together, we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in accordance with the federal manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique community. Viva Calexico.
Thank you. Please have a seat. I'll let the record reflect that Mr. Councilmember
Yeah.
Ureña is here at 6:35. Thank you, Mr. Ureña. We now have the approval of the agenda.
So move.
Who seconds that?
Second.
Second, Mr. Rolo Fernandez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. We have presentations. First presentation is by Dr. Leonard Johnson, Interim Superintendent at Imperial Valley College. Dr. Leonard Johnson, please.
Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm really excited to be here. I think I need to take this off, I'm sorry, if you don't mind. I have a hard time breathing with my asthma. But it's such a pleasure to be here, and we get a lot of questions about what's happening at IBC. What can we do to partner with the community? How is our enrollment? What's going on with the return to campus? And what my goal is to make sure that I'm educating the community about what we're doing and what are some of the great things we're doing, and also how we can find a better way to collaborate and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the city of Calexico and beyond to serve our students. So with the first slide, if you don't mind. So I would like to just touch on these issues, these items here. Our return to campus, enrollment, our basic needs initiatives, athletics, building enhancements on campus, as well as our master plan and some other general updates. But of course, I really want to hear from you all on what IBC could continue, what IBC can do to meet the needs of Calexico. So next slide, please. So again, right now, only around 20 to 30% of our students are on campus. About 50% of our staff is on campus on any given day. But we're trying our best to make sure that our students, our faculty, our staff are safe. We install purifiers. We have on-campus screening. We have a Ready education applications where we track where's like contact tracing. We have vaccination clinics on campus at least once or twice a month, testing on campus once or twice a month, face mask requirements. And then also another question that keeps popping up is, are we going to have a mandate? Right now, we have around 87% of our faculty and staff are vaccinated. So right now, we do not have any intent, we don't intend on having a mandate right now. We don't think that it may not be worth, the return on it won't be worth the adverse reaction that will be received by the community. Next slide. Enrollment. Right now, higher education is going through a transformation, particularly as it relates to how our future campuses will look. Across the California community college system, we're down about 35% enrollment. IVC wasn't immune to this trend as well. However, we did not have the same hit as other community colleges. Next slide. But we are about 19% down from our previous year of 2019. So this has been a concentrated focus of mine, as well as the campus at large, is to get our students back on campus in a safe way as soon as possible. Because of course, our dollars are also tied to this, although we're being held harmless, but held harmless can only last for so long. So next slide. Here are some of the strategies that we have deployed. For the most part, all of these are very new initiatives. And I'm really pleased to announce that our contact center, we have about 8 people reaching out to students directly, checking on them, see how they're doing, find out why they dropped out of school, what can we do to assist them, whether they decide to come back to IVC or not. We want to make sure that they know that they have a friend in IVC and we're here to support their needs. Quite a few enrollment initiatives. You've probably seen some of the ads. We're offering free tuition right now, as well as books for our students to return, because you know COVID has impacted so many families in such a devastating way. We want to make sure we meet those students halfway, because to put off your education is to me is a non-negotiable. We have to get our students back to school. Comprehensive ed plans, we want to make sure all of our students have an education plan within that first year so they can have that roadmap to completion. We're really looking at our processes. I'm quite sure many people have went to college here, and when you go to college and you're trying to log in and you're trying to get your classes, sometimes it's like going through a maze. We're trying to make sure that process is a lot easier for students who do not have the experience of going through that process. Basic needs has always been a focus point for us, is to make sure that we're meeting our students' basic needs, because without the basic needs as a foundation, it's very hard for them to continue their education and stay and persist. And the big unknown right now is what is that perfect online, on-site enrollment mix. Prior to the pandemic, about 93% of our classes were on-site. Right now, only about 25%, 30% of our classes are on-site. And we're getting a lot of resistance from both our employee side as well as the main constituencies are our students who prefer not to come back on site. And this is across the whole system, so we're all trying to find out what is that sweet spot. We know we're never going to be back at that 7% online, but is it 20% online? Is it 30% online? Is it 50% online? We have to continue to ask ourselves to find out what that answer is. Next slide. So here's just a quick example of some of the things that we're doing. Student Emergency Fund. This year we provided over $260,000 to our students for emergency needs, whether it be for rent assistance, for fixing their car, utility bills. We have been very proactive in making sure that our students have those resources. We're providing laptops, Wi-Fi devices, so students can have the technology at home to complete their studies. We have a IVC closet where students can get clothes for interviews and just basic needs. We're having food distributions monthly, sometimes 2 times a month, to make sure some of our most vulnerable students have the food for their families. And we also have shower kits for our students who are homeless. And of course, we were just talking about it, we also provide transportation vouchers for our students to make sure that they can get back to the campus. And lastly, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit our tiny homes, I encourage you to drive by and check it out. It has been absolutely incredible. And right now, we're seeing almost a 1.5% jump in their GPAs. So that's a huge win for IVC. And we're also applying for additional dollars to make sure we can expand that, because right now we have about 216 students on the waiting list, and we want to bring that down. Next slide. Again, we're reaching out to the community. We have the free tuition. We're having all of our promotional activities will be in Spanish and English, because we also want to tap our friends south of the border. We have ESL workshops, and we're just trying, like I said, we're trying to do all we can. Next slide. So this is the spring, what you can expect in the spring. Roughly 35% of our students classes will be fully on ground, 10% will be a combination of both, and 55% will be online. And this change, based off our enrollment trends and what we're hearing from the community, we did scale down. Originally, this plan was 50% fully on ground, 10% hybrid, and 45% online. So we had to make a switch. And the positive thing about it, since we made that switch, what we go by is what we call a fill rate. And what we found was all of our online classes were completely filled and have a waiting list of anywhere between 10 and 20 students. But our face-to-face classes were all at 35%, 20% fill rate. So what we started doing is looking at those classes that would not fill and flipped them to online, and almost immediately, once we flipped it online, they filled up. Next slide. Building enhancements. This is really exciting because we had a lot of construction projects in a docket, and they just were not moving at all. Throughout the pandemic, we didn't do anything. Honestly, we kind of drug our feet on it. But now we're trying to get them all completed. Right now, it's very difficult to navigate the campus because we have all the construction going on. It's almost like a construction site. But we want to get this stuff done before our students come back. And our students are going to be back in the fall, and we know that. And we need to make sure that all those all those facilities are available. Next slide. So we have our newest building, the Disability Support Program Service Building. Very nice. We have upgraded our lighting, so they're motion detected, so they brighten up as you walk past. We're changing basically all of our HVAC systems to make sure that because all of our system was about 70 years, 60 years old, so we're trying to upgrade those. We remodel our library. We also remodeled 3 of our academic buildings. Next slide. Our students asked for it, and we're delivering. Our students asked for the expand the college center, and now that project is almost near completion. We should be finished by April. It's gonna look, as you can see the picture up there, it's very, very nice. It's gonna add about 3,000 square feet. So we're really excited about that. Our nursing building is under construction. That should be also done around April, February, March, April. And also it's gonna comply with today's nursing standards. And we also made some upgrades to our counseling center as well as financial aid. Next slide. Some future projects. We're in the works of building our auto tech building. This was on the docket for 2 bond measures before, and we're finally getting to it, so we're really excited about that. Tennis courts, restrooms for our baseball field, shades for the amphitheater, again, as well as we're going to upgrade all our HVAC systems. Next slide. This is also one of my pet things that I really, really want to get done is athletics. Athletics to me is where the whole community comes together and just watch their children play and enjoy and compete. This has been almost invisible on our campus, so we're doing a lot of things to try to make sure, what is our premier program? What is the program that's going to attract local Valley students to come to IVC and compete at IVC? What we have found is several students will go to San Diego, Grossmont, and just to run track. So the question is, why can't we have a competitive track team? Why can't we have a competitive basketball team? Why can't we have, I would love to have wrestling, why can't we have wrestling in the Valley? So those are things that we're investigating and see how we can make that feasible for IVC in the community. Next slide. We just completed our comprehensive master plan for 2030, and this is where we see ourselves. Next slide. And these are just some of the key components that our strategic plan involves in: academic excellence, ensure learning, to make sure that IVC programs align with local labor market and future labor market projections, i.e. lithium. Making sure that we stay what we call JEDI-minded, justice, equity, and diversity and inclusion, and as well as being financially responsible. Next slide. So what you see here are our current layout, which is on your left, and then our future layout, which is on your right. And you can see all the red buildings are new buildings. So the one I'm really, really excited about, and we can go to the next slide, please, is our Student Service Center, a one-stop shop. I know many of you have been at IVC, and if you've been to IVC recently, you'll know that to go to counseling, first you got to go to admissions and records, and then you got to walk across campus to go to the counseling center, and then the counseling center say, oh, well, you got to go back to admissions and records because you forgot something. And then admissions and records say, okay, now you got to go to financial aid, which is another building. What we want to do is consolidate that, make sure all of our students can just have one-stop shop, as well as we'll have our administrative buildings there. A multicultural equity center, a police safety center. We're in the process of building one of the CTE buildings, which is our automotive, so we're already checking that box off. An additional instructional building, facilities complex, and a public safety training center. So those are all on the docket. We hope to have those started before and possibly even completed by 2030. Next slide. So what's in the works? Last year, the board voted to discontinue our current mascot. So right now, ASG and the campus community are working on a mascot name, a new name, as well as a logo. So a competition is going out this right now in the works, and those results should be forthcoming. We hope to have a mascot by the end of this year. Mariachi club and program, we're going to have that. That's in the works right now. The club has already started. The program we hope to have in play by next fall. Additional ESL support. We hired an ESL counselor. We also hired a counselor for minority outreach to make sure that we're touching those students who aren't coming to us. We're in the process of reassessing our mission, vision, and values, so we can update that. Dual enrollment expansion. This has been a huge hit, and I'm so glad that we finally brought dual enrollment to Calexico High School. I think that was 2 years ago, so we're really glad that they're on board. But we want to continue to expand that and give these opportunities. My personal goal, and this may be my just wishful thinking, I would like every student in the valley to take at least 2 to 3 courses before they graduate from high school, because that will plant the seed of going to college. And again, whether they go to IVC or not, they know that they can do it, and they have that sense of pride that, hey, I can make this happen. We're also working with San Diego State. What we want to do is try to collaborate with San Diego State so we can bring IVC courses possibly at San Diego State at their Calexico campus as well as their Brawley campus, and then San Diego State can offer classes at IVC. So that cross-pollination there where students don't have to drive as far to get some of the classes that they need. We're finalizing articulation agreement with SETIs. Again, we want to keep Valley students local. We want to keep our engineers local. We know once they go to LA, once they go to San Diego, they don't come back at the same rate as they left. So we want to make sure that happens. And then, of course, the reason why I'm here is I want to collaborate with you all. How can IVC work with the city of Calexico? So with that, I think that concludes my presentation. I will love to have any questions that you have.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Ms. Garcia?
Sure. First of all, Dr. Johnson, I want to thank you for taking the time to come and present to our community, not so much us, the council, but the community. I know the community is watching. I know that IVC has been a crucial, I want to say, what maybe a vital component to our community, our Imperial County, Calexico. And one thing I want to ask you, what's the enrollment, the student enrollment from Calexico, going from Calexico to the college? Do you happen to have that number?
I don't have that number, but I know Calexico is our largest population. And I want to say it's about 30%. I was just looking at it like last week, right, at the cabinet meeting. So it's about 30%, if I want to say.
Well,
but it's the largest percent of all the districts.
That is great to hear. And I think, and I know that a way to even up, our communities is through education. I'm happy to hear that, we have all these resources, that IVC, has been proactive in reaching out and assisting our community. All the efforts that have been done through the pandemic, and providing all those supportive services, whether it's transportation, all these things that maybe in the past were not there. But I think that's part of the needs that we have to meet also, so our young people or students, not just young people, but it's for anybody that wants to go, and the education and the opportunity is there. I think this is crucial also that we continue to engage, our community. We continue to engage, our local educational institutions coming out. I'm happy to see, and I think you were the last one to come, to visit us, because we always have, Supervisor Escobar, Director Gonzalez, and now you, so which I'm very happy. I think you're the other component that it's crucial for us to continue to move forward. And as a city, I believe that we also have work-study students from IVC, which are great, and we want to continue to collaborate. I do remember, going to some of those workshops, when you were working on your master plan, and the feedback was great. But I think the engagement from the community was a little bit lacking, and it's not your fault, because the outreach was done. But I think, it's now on us to really provide you the feedback. You did hit all the points, all the different communities that need to be engaged, from city, industry, other, entities of higher education. So now I love your presentation. And I think, going through this pandemic, we have learned so much. And one of the things maybe that I would like you to really continue to look at, maybe continue to offer instruction through online, because that was also my headache, trying to get classes at IBC. And I think, that's another great opportunity. It's something that we learned from this pandemic that we're going through, and that some of the students have actually benefited. But again, great job. Kudos to you, to your leadership, and to past leaders, also leaders from IBC, through also your board, your board of trustees, that also are in touch with the community. So I'm really looking forward to having you back to provide an update as to how we're doing once we get out, once we maybe go back to classes, once we see these percentages that you offer to, or you mentioned to us, the enrollments that, getting back to classes. All of that is exciting. And I think, another thing that I want to see is that maybe continue to have that pride of IBC. I know you're working on that. You have a very, very strong marketing plan. And I think, maybe something that we can have us as a city council, as a local government agency, maybe the logos of all our educational institutions. Something that, we can have in our city when they come in, they don't see only a governmental institution, but rather an area of resources. So again, that's another maybe opportunity that I suggest to you to continue to collaborate. I love that you touch on working with industry. You mentioned Lithium Valley, that now is in everybody's conversation. I'm glad that IBC is taking the lead. That's what we want. That's what we need. We need the high wage, the high skill, to also opportunities to be available. So this is exciting. I can't really thank you enough for coming down, for sharing that with us, to put it out there. And more than a question, I just wanted to compliment the work that you're doing, and that of your leadership, the rest of your leadership team, and including your board of trustees. And thank you to Trustee Armendariz that is here too.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, they should-
None of this work would be done without the support of the trustees. Trustee Armendariz is here, and she has always been very providing a lot of help in more ways than one. So thank you, thank you.
Can I add something to
Okay.
the presentation too?
Sure.
Yes, you don't mind?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you? Okay. Good evening, everyone. And maybe some people are thinking, what's the tie of Dr. Johnson being here? And it's really, really important that he said something really important. IBC service the majority of our students, and when we say our students, that's community people. So IBC is servicing people from Calexico, and that's why it's really important for him to be here. That way you know what IBC is doing for the people of Calexico. And you said, and one thing that he said that was really important is the basic needs. Not only is education is a basic need, but IBC helps with basic need, with the housing. If students need food or clothing, IBC is really big on that. Just between December and January, IBC helped 3 students that were about, they weren't going to re-enroll because they didn't have homes. And IBC has sheltered 3 students that were about to just give it up and not continue their studies. So thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. I wanted to make sure to tie why it's important for all of you to know what IBC has to offer, because they are serving Calexico residents. Thank you.
Okay, the question that I have, and thank you very much for being here. The question that I have is, I know that you're saying addressing the basic needs for our students. Now, is there a certain category? Is there a certain, sliding scale? What do you base yourself if somebody goes and says, I need a place to stay, or I need food, or I need a computer? Is there some type of guidance you're following, or could just anyone that's enrolled just ask for it? I mean, the reason is, I know that's a question that's out there.
That's a great question, and we want to help everyone.
Oh, okay.
And particularly our food, that's whoever comes, we're going to provide it.
Okay.
We don't ask for anything. The only thing that we have to do a screening process is for our tiny homes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and like for our emergency funding, they do have to fill out a form, and basically, if they're late on rent or something like that, submit some type of documentation for funding. But for the most part, if it's food or technology, you call us up and say, I don't have a laptop.
Really?
We make sure we have it. I don't have a Wi-Fi. We make sure we try to get it and so forth. So,
Oh, that's very good to know.
your education is too important for us to squabble over those things.
And another question that I have, I know that in the past, we did have IBC's, external campus here, next to Robinson Ford. Are you working on something like that, or is there something that, I think that would be awesome for our students, especially right now with the transportation issues.
Yes. That is my goal.
Oh, thank
And that's
you.
the reason why I'm partnering with San Diego State.
Okay.
Is because, one, I want to have if we can have a footprint here back in Calexico, where we had over 1,000
Yeah, I
students
remember.
registered at one time, and we can prove to the board that there's a high demand with those classes, then I think it'll be something I can probably see if I can twist some of my trustees on to say yes to.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, all right.
Okay, that's all.
Anybody here?
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, welcome again to this meeting, and thank you for very important information. In my opinion, we need more help programs and a student housing program between IVC and the city of Calexico and also San Diego State University, for example. What do you think? I don't know, but thank you again. That's it. Thank you to coming here today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Rojo. Raya?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, for being here and for sharing your presentation with us. I'm very happy with everything that's happening at Imperial Valley College, especially when it comes to equity, diversity, and access. One thing that I found absent, and maybe it's in the works, or maybe it's after the basic needs, is mental health resources. I'm a Calexico high school graduate from 2015. I am an American with a disability. I didn't know I had a disability until I went off to UC Santa Cruz midway, and the only reason I found out was because I had a friend that was a medical doctor that told me, you need to go to a psychiatrist, you need to get evaluated. And so we're in a community that at least in the healthcare plan that I have here with the city, there's only 3 mental health providers. None of them are non-white. We can say that mental health access in this community period is very, very difficult. So, and then you have a diversity of school districts that your students are coming from. And very sadly, the Calexico Unified School District is one that has, even you want to say challenges, or has had just a bad record of focusing on students' mental health. We know that Black, brown, and low-income students are much less likely to be diagnosed for mental health disorders that affect their education, like autism, ADHD, and others. When they get to the Imperial Valley College level, what are we doing to address those disparities?
That's a very, very good question, and I have a very good answer. We have amped up our mental health awareness tenfold over the last 2 years. And right now, I just had a conversation with our student health director, is we don't know the impact this pandemic is going to have. We really, we're just at the tip of the iceberg, especially as it relates to mental health. For example, my partner's brother just died, 40 years old, from COVID. And it kills me and it kills the family that he has left behind three baby girls. They're going to need some help. And that's just one family in Imperial Valley. But there's countless of others where they have been impacted, whether it be a family member or a friend. They have been locked in their houses for months, years, social anxiety, returning back to campus. Those mental health to me is probably the thing that we have to make sure that we keep laser focused. And then it also is difficult, even now, even more challenging, as I shared with Lupita, is when they're in the classroom, someone can catch it.
Yes.
But online, you can't catch it. So we have to be extra vigilant to make sure that we educate the people that these services are available. We recently signed a contract with Imperial County Behavioral Health, where they're actually providing that second tier layer of mental health services. We added two mental health counselors over the last 2 years. We plan to continue adding to their staffing levels so they can conduct that outreach and that awareness. But that is, to me, that's one of the most important things, particularly as it relates to basic needs and awareness.
Good. And it's good that it's categorized as a basic need. I mean, it's expensive, but it's certainly in that category.
Yes.
Well, I echo the same sentiments with my colleagues here, and thank you for all the hard work you do. The door is always open. You're welcome to come back anytime. Please keep us informed as we move forward. And I know you're interim superintendent. I hope you apply there someday, and hopefully you get that spot, because we're really looking forward to working with you. Like I said, the door is always open. Please come back, give us updates. Appreciate that. Thank you for your hard work.
I will certainly be back.
One last thing. Hopefully the next round of funding, we can look at a tiny homes project here in Calexico. We were more than excited to look at that. City Manager, you concur with me? He's going to put you in the spot.
So, no, thank you. And
Thank you.
I will be certainly back. And by the way, Calexico is 20%. The next closest is Central Union, and that's 12%.
Oh,
There
okay.
you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do have to leave, so I'm going to see my grandson.
Okay.
First grandson.
Thank you.
Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Our next item is our Planning and Building Services Department update by our Planning Director, Lisa Aguilenda.
Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. Real quick fun fact, large ridership portion comes from the city of Calexico to IBC. He walked out, but yeah, I'm a product of IBC and I'm very proud of it. So it's awesome to have him here. Good evening, everyone. The item before you is a quick presentation depicting what's transpired the last 5 months here at the Planning and Building Department for the city of Calexico. Ms. Gabby, could you jump to the next slide, please? Thank you. Real quick, the first slide.
It's not showing up there yet.
Yeah. Do you want me to? One more. There we go. So real quick background. What does the Department of Planning and Building do? Well, I like to say a little bit of everything, but professionally speaking, the Department of Planning and Building functions to identify the best uses of land and help build safe communities. In essence, ensure that the construction work being conducted within the city meets California Building Code standards in regards to life and safety. Next slide, please. The purpose of the presentation. The presentation is to promote the City of Calexico's vision of procedural transparency and accountability within. The following slides will briefly depict changes that have transpired within the last 5 months and projects/updates currently in the works. Next slide, please. This slide changes. So this slide talks about briefly all the changes that have been going on within the Planning and Building Department. It highlights some, but it does not encompass all the changes that have transpired. So in short, we have a fee schedule that's under construction for planning and building permit fees. The inspection schedules historically were not uploaded to the website, so we'd have a lot of contractors or residents calling in, hey, when's my inspection? Is it on the list? Is it not? So now, in terms of customer service, other cities provide that accommodation. We now provide it. So you can go online, you can see what's on the inspection list, how many inspections are being conducted that day, and if you're scheduled in the AM or PM. And apart from it being available online, you can now not only call in or come in person, you can send your inspection request via email. So we've set up an email specifically for inspection requests, as other neighboring cities also have. So this gets us more up to date and relevant and competitive in the way we conduct our customer service and the experience within the city's planning and building department. So, and I really want to highlight that. That's a big one for contractors and residents that are building when they want to schedule inspections. It's quick, simple, and we have a way to keep track of their request apart from, you know, them coming in person, us writing it down, or them calling on the phone. The plan checks, this is a big one, are being conducted in-house so that we can process them faster. And apart from that, it's part of the analysis that's ongoing to see what's going to be the best way to conduct services within the city, giving the level of demand and supply in regards to construction and planning activities. Apart from that, we are also training staff. I like to call it cross-training so that everybody has an idea what's going on. I don't look at titles, I look at customer service experience in the department. And so everybody feels important, and I'm very lucky to work with my coworkers, my team there. They like to be able to give an answer. They want to know what's going on instead of saying, I don't know, let me wait for the director. I don't know, let me wait for the building official. They want to help. So we're doing cross-training so that they can do permit fees and that they know how to give answers and they know where the policies and procedures come, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud of that. We have the grant coordinator position opened to the public. Hopefully we can fill it, and hopefully it's added to the department. The closing date for applications is this Friday. Depending on how many applications we receive, that'll dictate what way we move forward, whether we're able to hire someone or we have to extend the recruitment or go with a consultant. So that's to be determined. The source of the funding for that is CV1 grant. It is a grant-funded limited-term position, and currently it's being advertised as a one-year position. We're being frugal and conservative with the funding from that grant, from CV1 specifically. The state of California gave direction to use that grant specifically for this type of position to help manage the CV grants, because it's multiple grants and multiple projects, which I'll talk about in slides ahead. So with that CV1 grant money, they've allocated it for a position of a grant coordinator. Now, whether it may be we get to hire someone, the city wanted to go that route so that we could make an opportunity available within the valley. As I said, it's what's going to dictate how we proceed is how many applications we get in and how many candidates are viable. So that is to be determined, and it is a change. A big one I'd like to also highlight is the Variance Ordinance that's been created and implemented and adopted by the council via ordinance. That's a big one. That now makes a variance process more equitable for the items that are allowed under this administrative variance, and it's really aimed towards the residents of the city of Calexico, so they don't have to go through a full-blown variance process apart from the timing, which is about 2 to 3 months, and depending on the type of project, it could extend longer. The variances at an administrative level are minuscule and are formulated for more residential deviations of the code. And they're also subject to a process internally and review, but apart from the timing, which is set for 4 weeks for the residents or whoever can apply for the administrative variance, it gives them a 4-week timeline to get a response and the processing, and the fee is also significantly lower. And then the next one is changes to the home occupancy ordinance and the commercial zoning ordinance, which will have more changes coming for more ordinances, because the zoning ordinances are really what move and promote and incentivize development and growth within the city. And the last one, we've also implemented the Instagram for the city of Calexico. We're trying to promote public involvement and also create an atmosphere where we're becoming a team and really promoting Calexico as a team. And it's the public that we want them to also be part of our team, because that's what we're all here for. Ms. Gabby, next slide, please. So this slide right here, open projects. I reference it as in we have many projects going on, tons. But these are some of the ones I can highlight because I can speak publicly about them. And they're ones that have come before the council. So we have the Planning Local Housing Assistance Grant, which we applied for at the end of December. So it's being processed. We have the Housing Element Special Planning Commission meeting scheduled for February 7th. At this meeting, the Planning Commission will review and hopefully recommend adoption of the Housing Element to the City Council, and then the next step would be bringing that recommendation to the council so that we could resubmit it to the Housing and Community Development Department of the State of California. We also have right now, open projects is the Small Business Assistance Program. We have the applications open to the public. We're going through the portion where the small businesses are obtaining the application, getting their questions. The questions are starting, I'm going to say this week, they're coming in. They're coming in, and we're getting them their answers and the information that they are requesting. We're not accepting applications right now because we want to make the process equitable, as in giving everyone time and access to resources that not everyone may have who's applying for the program. We have CV23 grant award and implementation. So currently we're managing Fire Station 2 improvements, which are part of the CV23 grant. We were awarded that, so money has been allocated to do rehab on Fire Station 2. And I will be working along with City Manager's Office, the Fire Chief, in preparing a request for proposals within the next 2 months so that we can start the improvements on Fire Station 2. And we were also awarded grant money to fix the restroom located on First Street by the orthopedic clinic.
Okay.
So we have been granted that, and the only thing pending for those two to move forward is to create the RFP, put out the RFP, receive proposals, review the proposals, and do that whole RFP process. And another huge one is the TAG project, the alley rehab project that's come before the council. It's pending approval, so we've gotten the county supervisors, everything. They requested their tentative dates for it to be on the county agenda is either the 7th or the 14th for them to take action on it. And then we move forward with also the bid process, and it's a $3 million grant to fix alleys identified and approved by both APCD, the Air Pollution Control District. So it's a collaborative project with APCD, Air Pollution Control District, which is the county in essence, and the city of Calexico. And we were the first city to get this grant in the valley. Next slide, please. So my favorite phrase, work in progress, I use it to refer to what we are currently working on. So long range, everything, and short, also everything. But here's to highlight some big projects and topics that have come before the council. In the next few months, the council can anticipate seeing us bring before them fee updates for the finance department in terms of business licenses, the fire fees for permits, inspections, and the engineering department fees, encroachment permits, grading plan permits. We'll be bringing updated ordinances, code enforcement updates to the council. We're working internally on closing out. The city was historically awarded LEAP and SB2 grant funding, and that's what's being used to fund, what was being used to fund a portion of the development impact fee update and the housing element update. So those two grants were being used to fund portions of those two updates. And we're also working on paint permits for downtown. That's going to be fun and exciting. We're also going to bring before the council a chart of colors for the council to review and approve, that if anyone wants to paint in certain sections and zones, the council has already identified colors that are approved for either new subdivisions or the downtown vision, so that we could get it cleaned up and more uniform. It promotes what has been formulated as the downtown redevelopment plan, and we're also coming up with a business development guide for the city of Calexico, and it's going to have a recovery plan portion for specifically the downtown area. And we'll be promoting all these through public workshops. We've implemented them the last 5 months. We've had a couple, and they will continue to be ongoing. Public participation is key. And we need to know what the constituents, the residents, and the business community wants and needs from the city. And also the next few months, the council can expect to see development impact fees being brought before you for review, direction, adoption. Any questions?
I do. Sorry. First, for the small business program, now you're saying that people already came in to pick up the applications. I know that there was an in-service or information provided, and also there's also assistance in filling them out, or?
Yes, so right now, currently, the planning and building department is acting in many capacities. So staff is being cross-trained, and we're all answering questions. We're giving out the applications. There's a program guide. The program guide outlines the information required. It's a more condensed, simplified version of the entire package. We haven't had anyone schedule one-on-one meetings, but that option is there.
It's
and
available.
the person they would be meeting with is me. So we've been taking questions over the phone, and we've also let them know that we're anticipating being able to hire someone. That's the goal. So whether we hire someone or not hire someone, there will be someone contracted to provide that one-on-one service for the duration of the program, because it's not just the issuance, it's actually the whole program implementation, which means the way they're using money, tracking the money, filling out applications, meeting HCD and CDBG requirements, filing with the state, filing with HUD. So it's a long program, and just getting the money is one step. Then we have to follow the money and close it out.
So, but it's being subsidized by somebody else for the person?
Oh, yes, yeah.
The person the city's not paying for it?
No, the city's not paying for it. The state of California, HCD, and HUD, they actually gave direction to use CV1, which is COVID relief money, to hire someone to help us.
Okay, so has this been out? I mean, because I haven't, is it out there and nobody has applied yet? I mean, we're kind of like.
We're in the recruitment phase yet.
Okay. And, okay, so once the businesses, whoever applies, is first come, first served basis? Is that what you're Is that how it's going to go,
Yes.
or?
It'll be on a first come, first served basis. We also have language stipulated in the program processing in case we get, so right now we currently have 300 and some $1,000 allocated for the program loan. It's, when I do the math and we divide it by 7,500, which is the max that someone could apply for, it rounds off to about 41 businesses that could apply. If we get 41 applications, we're going to process and review the 41 applications. There is also language stipulated in our program that says if they are not, they cannot receive funding because they got funding somewhere else. So it is a long process because we have to check and see if they got money from other COVID reliefs. If they did, one thing is that they certify it, so you can certify it, but you can't also, it has to be reviewed anyways, so they have to go through the vetting process. And if they did obtain funding, then they're counseled and they're notified, hey, you did get funding, this funding does count as CV, or as COVID relief, you're not eligible. So we would then have a wait list as well. So if we have to take people out because they didn't qualify ultimately, then we'd bring them in as they go through the vetting process. So technically, we'll get all the applications that come in, but on a first come, first served basis, the first 41 will be reviewed, and then the next will be accepted, time-stamped, recorded, and put on hold in case we have to drop one of the applicants because they don't qualify after the vetting process.
Okay. And another question that caught my attention was a paint permit for downtown. We're charging them to getting a permit for them to paint? Is that or?
No. There's no paint permit yet. It's being formulated. There's no fee right now to paint downtown. This permit will be brought before the council, proposed for your review, direction, consideration. You could give direction to say, no, I don't, we shouldn't have one. Yes, we should. Maybe we shouldn't charge. The whole idea is to promote the vision for the downtown plan and recovery. And if we're going to adopt color charts, to have uniformity and for aesthetic purposes, to get the city moving towards a different path, like actually follow what we've adopted, like the downtown specific plan that's adopted. Something like this has to be implemented. Whether we charge or not is another factor, but they could, in essence, come in, obtain a permit, and then we could say, okay, well, these are the adopted color schemes for your fascia, your pop-outs, the front of the building, just to make sure that they're following the ordinances or the plans that the city has adopted. All that can be changed and adjusted, but the real purpose of it is to clean up downtown and to have accountability and promote the aesthetic well-being and clean up, really. And how do you get that? You create a permit. Now, whether we charge for it or not, that is up to the council. We don't have to.
No, what I would like to see, I would like to be able to provide the paint for them or have somebody paint downtown so we could beautify downtown.
A vehicle for that, Rosie. Having something in place could be the vehicle to accomplish.
Yeah, because, I mean, to beautify downtown, I think instead of, charging them for, getting, well.
Yeah, no, there's
That's
big
something else.
plans coming. Like I mentioned, we have a business development guide being formulated that'll be coming to the council for your review, consideration, and direction. And within that plan, there'll be a portion that's specifically for the downtown recovery plan, and it'll be outlined what's being proposed and what changes and incentives are being brought to the council for review and consideration.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.
I have only one question, Mayor. Lisa, the grant or support we had from the county for the traffic control, you remember? Is it possible to request it again?
So you're talking about the ICTC?
It's in the past, 2 years ago.
But separate?
Right.
That's, if you want, I can address that situation.
Right.
What are you talking about?
It's not related to her presentation, but I can address it. At some point, ICTC did incentivize and subsidize the city of Calexico with monies to support traffic control
Yeah.
for the major circulated intersections in our city. The police department has worked in recent months to revisit that opportunity. So the city once again can be considered for funding to offset the cost that it brings to the department to pay it out of their budget. So we once again can have the opportunity to be subsidized. We're working on that, Councilwoman Romo, because it does make sense for our local transportation commission to assist in different ways, and that being one of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, Senator? And just to piggyback, no? Just to you want, okay, go ahead. All of it.
Lisa, again, this is exciting, wonderful ideas and plans. It's great to be ambitious, and I see this as a very ambitious plan, doable, but where do you find yourself, with the manpower, with the ability to do all these things? I really, really like the fact that, having a way for someone to check on their plans, for someone to, go to a secure website, right, and check on the updates. Instead of you or your staff getting phone calls, they can go almost, real time, and check on the update. So, manpower, technology, or resources, do we have it?
Well, we can always use an extra set of hands. So would it be helpful right now for more? We'll always take help and more manpower. And I can say I have very passionate coworkers, my team. Whatever comes our way, whatever crazy ideas I have, like the inspection logs and uploading them every day, they're more than willing, because at the end of the day, customer service is just as important to them as it is to me, and I'm very lucky to work with the staff that I have. So could we use more staff? Always. Right now, we're doing the best we can with the amount of worker bees we have. So apart from that, definitely we can always use extra help.
Thank you for the answer. Yes. And there was a reason why I asked that question, because we know that we're not sure on ideas and initiatives. Appreciate that. That is always a great thing. That's how we start. But then also, we're having discussions on different things and how to stretch our limited resources, and I'm talking about money. So, but in order for us to be effective and to be strategic for our growth and to be able to be self-sustaining and sufficient as a city and respond to the needs of our community, we need to have that. We need to have the manpower. And I think we have heard it many times, and I see people in the audience that they have come, many times. So we have to invest. I think we're going in the right direction, but we have to invest. We have to invest our monies wisely. Just raising that thought and question. Again, updating ordinances those are badly needed. And I don't know if that's part of your job or through legal, or maybe legal should be looking at that. Or a combination of both. So I don't know how that is happening, and I'm not going to get to the detail, but hopefully there's collaboration, right? So we can update it, and I've seen some ordinances that contradict themselves. In one area, you read something, you read a couple of paragraphs down, and it's completely opposite. So again, what we're providing to some of our people, it's not, doesn't make sense. on your grants. I know it's great, and on the opportunity. Maybe what I can suggest, I know that you had a workshop, way back, for, the grants to business grants. Maybe we can just be more strategic also, where we have a TA, technical assistance, and say, you know what, on this day, we're gonna have this available to you. At this hour in Spanish, at this other hour in English, so that way you don't have to be answering calls. I mean, I know it sounds bad, but it's only one of you and your team that is very limited. So having to answer constantly calls, I think it just takes away from other things that you're doing. So we understand we want to help the community, but we also want to make sure that they help us out. Let us help you, but help us also. Then code enforcement update. I saw that you had in your presentation, and you had some a presentation for us also in past meetings. But what I would like to see, I would like to see a report, an ongoing report of the code enforcement activities. Why? Because at least I do get a lot of questions from citizens that says, you know what is going on with that building? What is going on with that property? Is something being done? And what do? I go to the city manager, asking, these questions that, again, takes away from your guys' time. But if we can have a report where we know what's going on. I know that, I think it was mentioned, when we had the presentation in code enforcement, that there were about 30 or 50 current, inspections of current situations that we were looking at. So, and if that is public, or at least that it can be disclosed to us, for us to share what's going on, I think that would be helpful. Just like at one point we were getting reports on what was going on with the, our different crews, what they were doing in the city, not because I want to micromanage, but I think it's part of information, it's part of transparency, so I think it just helps our community stay informed. And that, their monies, their tax dollars, pretty much like the old slogan says, they are at work. So that will be helpful. And if I can get the support, or even if I can ask, through this, if we can get a report, an ongoing report of those activities, that would be great. Going to the point of downtown. I think that's a great idea. That's a way to live up downtown. But what I would like to also look at is that I don't know if in the past, well, I'm pretty sure that in the past there were some studies as to a vision for downtown. How do we see downtown? What is a theme? Do we have a theme? Do we want to, of course, we want to restore, we want to bring the grandeur of our city from the better years or better times. So I want to make sure that we keep all those things in mind, that when we bring these items for us to consider, I don't want to say, well, let's do, I don't know, terracotta, because that looks fresh. I'm not an expert on that, but I would like to at least be very strategic, be very cognizant of keeping some sort of, uniformity, some sort of theme, something that we can continue to build on. Not just say, well, yeah, I think that looks great. I don't think, unless I'm wrong, but I don't think none of us five here have that ability to say, well, this is what we like, or this is what we want you to do as far as colors and all of that. So let's look at that a little bit more closely and see how we can have a vision for downtown. I know there are a lot of plans for downtown, so let's integrate all of that. I think it will be a better plan. It will be a plan for the future to continue to build on those things that we're doing now. And in going back to the downtown recovery plan, what is on that downtown recovery plan? I think that would be very interesting to go back and see what's there. And I know that we're addressing also part of our strategic planning. That was very loud and clear, something that was said very loud and clear by the citizens. So I think it's great, but let's just be strategic for the future also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Anybody else?
Just to piggyback briefly on what Mr. Garcia said, when we think of a downtown plan, absolutely none of us have the answer to say, well, it's going to be rustic or old town or this or that. It's a market process. Downtown is what people and businesses that use it make of it. I think the planning department is there to keep us safe, but also to be an enabler of what people want to do, right? Take the community input and modify, recreate ordinances to liberate and allow people to do things in the safest way possible. And I think that's, blessedly the direction that we're headed.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Looking forward to the next one, and I know you have all your work cut out for you, but I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Our next item is we have our Chief Gerardo for an update on the traffic on B.B. Williams.
Came out of the batter's box. Good evening, Honorable City Council, ladies and gentlemen, audience, people watching us on virtual. Today's a really quick update on a concern that we had, the citizens from Las Casitas subdivision, probably like back in November, I want to say November, December, came forward and their complaint was, they came in and they were talking about the speeding on V.V. Williams between Sam Alice and 98 to Sam Alice. So it was a long stretch of roadway that has no traffic control devices. Also, they were complaining about the trucks parking there next to their homes, leaving their engines on or the refrigerator trucks on in that area. So we went out there, took a look at it. Next. And there was I put it down from a problem to a solution. And so drivers were speeding in excess of speeds, large trucks parking next to the residents at night, leaving their engines on and not letting the people there rest. They're a little bit older generation living there. Analysis, we went out there and we looked, and actually myself went out there a couple of times and I saw the speeding and their concern of the vehicles that were coming southbound on V.V. Williams or going northbound on V.V. Williams from 98, picking up speed. So we got together with the Calexico Public Works Street Department and ourselves, and we worked together and we came up with a solution. So we went ahead and we did a three-way stop, a temporary stop sign was placed in the intersection of V.V. Williams and M.B. Martinez. There were some no truck parking signs that were placed on V.V. Williams, and they repainted the red curbs at the intersections. And so you have enough visibility now to see what the traffic is coming, and hopefully they can calculate whether they can actually use make a right turn or left turn into V.V. Williams. Before, you had a lot of blind spots, which, we did have one fatality there a while back. And so hopefully this will stop, or at least slow down the traffic out there. Next. As you can see, I took photos of this work that was done by the Public Works Department. And you can see where they put no truck parking signs. They put a stop sign, up ahead sign. And then you can see the temporary stop signs on the far right. Next. Again, that's a picture of the intersection of V.V. Williams and M.B. Martinez. On the first one, the second one shows the stop sign from far away, and then the third one is the red curbs that were painted. Like I said, which helped the citizens in that community at least access V.V. Williams in a safer manner. Next. Those are more pictures. That's a southbound view now as you're looking southbound on V.V. Williams from Sam Alice. and you can see the streets, and they're pretty clear now, but that street, if you park on the sides, it's not wide enough for the traffic to go faster than what's allowed. And even though the speed limit is 25 on a residential area, if there's vehicles parked there, then you have to go they call a prima facie, which is the safe speed for conditions. Next. Again, same thing, I took a lot of pictures out there. Next. And thank you, really quick, record time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And we have our bi-weekly update, COVID update by our Fire Chief Avila.
I bet you I can beat him. Good evening, staff, honorable city council, and our public watching via our social media platforms. Real quick update for your COVID. Let's start off like we always do with numbers. We have a total of 12,816 have been diagnosed with COVID since the whole pandemic has started. Actively right now, we have 1,323. So comparing this year to last year, we've had about a 41% increase on it. There is some raw numbers that are coming in right now. It looks like it hit its peak and it started to come down. Hopefully by next city council, I'll be able to tell you guys that yes, we did have a decrease in COVID. The number that I'm always happy about is recovered. Out of all those people who have had it, we've had 11,229 walk away. And unfortunately, since we started, we've added a couple additional deaths of 264, and that's in total, right? Three things that I want to highlight tonight is, right now, obviously, we're still in the mask mandate, and we're having, some people are trying to get the N95s, and they're expensive, they're hard to find, you can't get them, right? Well, now the state started this new program where you can get 3 free N95s. Granted, that's not a lot, but it is something because N95s are hard to get, because initially those were reserved for health care providers, your firefighters, your paramedics. But now, if you want, you can go to most any pharmacy and sign up and get 3 free N95s adult size. So that's a start. It just shows that we are moving forward, because initially that we didn't have any, and now we're to the point where we can start offering them to the public, so I'm pleased about that. Last meeting I mentioned that there were still the testing issues that we were having, long lines, shorter hours, more testing sites. The program from the state is still out there. You get your free COVID test just by logging into covid19.ca.gov. And as I highlighted in the last meeting, it's very simple to go on. It's like 2 questions and you'll get them. And since the last time I told you guys I signed up for it, I've already received mine. So that is available there. Dr. Johnson spoke on one of the topics that I wanted to bring up, and it's something that we don't really think a lot about, and that was the emotional support and the mental health conditions because of COVID, right? We hear COVID and we have that whole placebo and the nocebo effects of COVID. I got it, I'm scared, what do I do? And there's some people that cannot deal with that. Some people might be like, hey, I got sick and I'm good, I gotta watch TV. Some might just, to them, they're done. It's the end of the world for them. So locally in the county, I want to just make the public aware that there is options, there is phone numbers, there is programs that you can call. I'm gonna highlight the phone number tonight. For the local one, it's 760-352-7873. It's available 24 hours. So if you just want somebody to talk to or something that you need to feel you need to get off your chest, or you may even need more health, that's the number to start with. And if you're looking something more state-oriented, the phone number is 1-800-273-8255. And I think it's important that the individual reach out to these if they feel they're in their need. That alone can help them throughout this process. Other than that, continue to wear your mask. The mandate is still active. Wash your hands, practice social distancing, and please try to stay safe. I think I beat them, unless you guys have questions.
Quick,
Yeah.
Mayor, quick question, Chief. Do you still participate in the meetings with the county health department?
Yes, those are still active, yes.
Okay, so what you just mentioned, I think is very important. And I know the county does a very good job of putting information out there through their social media outlets. And And I don't know if this number that you just provided is, if it is through social media that is advertised already, and if not, can we perhaps, put that as a suggestion?
For sure.
Because I think that is coming up and has come up a lot, the mental health
Yes.
support. So I think if we can just do a very nice graphic of that and
Okay.
make it available. And
Yeah,
just put it-
I'll make sure that the appropriate steps are taken by our lovely city clerk to get that onto our city website. I will also reach out to the departments to make sure whatever social platform they have that we highlight that. And remember, it's not just for, it's for everybody, but as employees of the city, it's also available out there. There's also the Holman group that's available for the employees, because the people, we're dealing with them all the time. And we get to see the families that are falling apart, and we get to see this stuff. And at the end, it does take a toll on you. It does take a toll on you, because you go through, like, man, you're seeing these families falling apart. Like you said, there's very few deaths that are happening because of COVID, but just that one that you see could affect you. So I just want to make sure that we highlight that, because it's something real. We got to remember that those old days about, I just suck it up, those, that may be true to some people. But there is some people who shouldn't follow that if they don't have to, because there is support out there.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Next items are announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexicoca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Committee office hours with Mayor Moreno will be held by appointment. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 to schedule an appointment. Public comments and public appearances. Note, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council or any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. However, if the item you wish to comment on is on the council agenda, please comment now. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the City Council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. The City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. I do have I have 4 public comments. City Clerk, do we have any online public comments? No? Thank you. Oh, one more? Okay. Okay, the first one is Chief Ferraro. How are you?
Also, today I decided to come and give you an update because I think this is important on some of the questions that you guys had at the last council meeting. I'm glad to say that actually the Calexico Police Department and Lieutenant Serrano is in charge of this under my direction, along with the Human Resources Department, have been working together to try to fill the 4 funded police officer vacancies that we currently have. This coming Friday, February the 4th, 2022, we have oral interviews, and we are interviewing 4 people for police officers, 2 for police reserve officer, and 1 for police recruit officer. We have decided also, the city manager and myself spoke about this, and we decided that we are going to be a little bit more aggressive and start interviewing people, if we can, the same week that they turn in an application. If it's 1, it's 1. If it's 2, it's 2. Right now, I have people available during the day that can be on the oral board. All I need is 2 or 3 people until we fill these positions. I have 1 sergeant who is background certified to conduct post backgrounds, which have to be through post, or else we get audited every year. If come March, we'll have 3 more sworn personnel that are going to be certified to be doing backgrounds. So that's where we're headed to. If there is a need, there is a company out of San Bernardino. There are a lot of retired police chiefs, deputy chiefs, and lieutenants and above that have a company they just started that have all done backgrounds, and they charge a flat fee. And so if we need to, because the applicant is from the Los Angeles, Riverside, San Bernardino area, and it's more cost-effectively to go contract at that point than it is to send one of my sergeants or the person doing backgrounds to go to LA or San Bernardino, and then you look at gas, overtime, and lodging. So we're doing that. The number 2 topic, and this is a very important topic that I want to first of all say, is that there's been an increase in crime. We all know it. It's crimes is affecting our local counties and state communities. In the past, as a council, and I'm talking about past councils and current councils, you have written letters and resolutions for support and to ask the state of California or the federal government for support in issues such as the COVID-19, border crossing issues, grant monies, and other stuff. I think it's time for this council, other city councils, the Board of Supervisors of Imperial County, and the rest of the cities and counties in the state of California to reach out to the representatives to take a stricter stand on crime. Every law enforcement agency in California can double their law enforcement officers, and we can arrest all violators for their crimes. Still, as long as the system continues to operate the way it's running right now, it will not make a difference. And I'm talking about the leniency that criminals have. This should not be a partisan-driven action. This is not Democrats, liberals, Trumpers, or whatever they want to call them. I mean, this is a stance that you got to take as a council to protect your citizens. I have seen the effects of these failed initiatives that have made the state a lawless place to live. As a member of the California Police Chiefs Association, we continue to fight a lot of these initiatives that we know and we understand that hurt our communities. We keep arresting the same individuals, and they are not being booked into jail. And even if they are, they get released faster than our officers can finish writing a report. The zero bail initiative is a joke. It puts people's lives in danger. I can speak here for hours on this topic, but this is a public comment. But we have a meeting to keep on, an agenda to keep. Again, I ask for the council to be the first council in the County of Imperial to write a letter or resolution asking our state of California Governor Gavin Newsom and state legislatures to take a firm stance on crime and allow criminals and mandate criminals to be booked in jail and prosecuted for the crimes that they commit. We can keep on trying to do this, but if we don't get help from our governor and our legislators, crime's going to continue. Thank you.
Chief, hold on, Chief. Just for a point of reference, because I would like to meet you later on when we have time. I just got recently, just about a week ago, I got assigned. We're all members of the California League of Cities, and I am the second vice president for that organization. So I put in my name for it because for the same reason that Calexico has done nothing for that matter, as maybe perhaps its leaders. And I'm talking about countywide. So the point of reference to this is I would like to be with you on this because I now got appointed for the Public Safety Commission in the state of California. And I'm going to take a stand on that for specifically what you're talking, and we're going to be addressing those in the next meeting for that specific reason. We need to be doing more at City Council elected officials to handle that issue.
Thank you, Mayor, because my whole thing is that we keep on getting ridiculed and critiqued as law enforcement officers because they think we're not doing our job. And I know we're shorthanded, but it doesn't help even if they're not prosecuting these people that commit crimes. And I understand that some people can't afford attorneys, but the law does give you an attorney to represent you during your court time.
Sure.
And
having a
I thought
laundry list of that.
it's time to just, it's never too late, but I think we should take a stance.
Right. Thank you,
All right?
Chief.
Thank you.
Our next person is Oscar Pesqueira.
Hello, good evening, Mayor, City Council. name is Oscar Pesquera, from behalf of the Firefighters Association. And I would like to start with Mr. Garcia's question, actually, to Lisa. Do we have the manpower? No, we don't. When it comes to fire, police, dispatch, you know, all these 4 presentations were great. Our students, businesses, traffic, COVID. I can tell you all, we, as a fire department, deal with all these 4 on a daily basis. You know, we were talking about downtown, trying to make it safe, make it pretty. Well, I don't know if you were aware of the large fire we had downtown. We worked great together with our dispatch and PD to catch that person who did all that. Now, I want to take a second to thank Hopeville Fire, Navy-based fire, and Westmoreland Fire. They were the only 3 that were able to come out to help us, because we couldn't help with the River Bottom fire that was going on the night before. The following day, we had that fire downtown. We called for help. They came out. We can't help them, but they can help us. We need to look at those things. We deal with these all the time. Downtown would have taken a lot more than just paint to fix that whole block. Yeah, that whole block would have gone up. Our guys did a great job at first. PD was around. After that fire, we had 3 more fires. We were in contact with dispatch with police to catch him. We caught him all the way at the plaza. So he went from downtown, and this person worked his way. We need your help. We need you people to add the pressure where it counts, ask questions, help Mr. Figueroa, help us, help him. We met today, and we thank him for it. He gave us that time. We have great ideas that I really hope to all get involved. Please, we can have this great town come in, all these new businesses, small, large, new schools, new programs, without a fire department, without a police department. That's not going to work. We can have these tiny homes come in. If something happens in those tiny homes, a crime, a fire, we go to them. We need your help. There's great plans in place. We need for you people to be involved with those plans. I know there's a lot of confusion with the pay. You know, there's firefighters making $120,000 a year. Firefighters that get paid cents over minimum wage. If these firefighters are making $120,000, $130,000 a year, how many hours do you think they're here at that wage? That's a lot of hours. We're talking about guys being here, which we just told Mr. Figueroa, 5 days out of the week. Now our shifts are 24-hour shifts. 3, 4, 5 days, it's right there. That's why on paper it seems like we make a lot. But the life is completely, almost 100% fire life, because that's where they're at. So we need your help. So we need your help with the plans and the ideas that we're bringing up to keep our personnel here. We have personnel 15, 16, 17 years in that are planning to leave us. How can we keep that? How can we keep that personnel in? Raised and born here, put in 15 to 17 years worth. They're taking off. Help us, help him to keep those type of personnel nearby. I cannot emphasize how much work there's going on out there, day and night. Dispatch can tell you, or police officers can tell you. We have police officers putting out nuisance fires. We have us going around the fire trucks telling them where the suspects are at. We're doing our best out there. We're doing our best. But everybody's getting tired. Not tired as in upset, but tired in every which way that you can think of. I thank you for your time. I hope in the near future we will be reaching out more to you, and the same thing to us, please. We have great plans with our city manager. Please, if any other questions, you can always reach out. We will be doing the same. Any questions at this point?
No. Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
You have a good night.
Our next speaker is Mr. Jesse Garcia. Jesse, you have a microphone on there? There you go.
Good evening. Thank you for not making me walk all the way over there. Today I'm going to start with, like Chief Gerardo was saying, we need more no truck parking signs on Grant and Emerson. There's only one. We need 3 more. The trucks, they stop right there. They park their trucks a couple of days, and it's dangerous for oncoming vehicles. When we stop, we cannot see vehicles approaching. So that's an accident waiting to happen there. We need no truck parking signs there. Also on B.B. Williams, pass between Sam Ellis and Cole Road. We need speed limit signs. There's no speed limit signs right there, so I always go 25. Maybe I'm going too slow. I'll probably get pulled over once and give them a ticket for going under a speed limit. Others I've seen, they are being pulled over probably because of speeding. So there's no speed limit signs there. We need to put them on V.B. Williams. Also, last meeting I talked about this and I'm going to do it again. Trash cans. Many of our parks don't have trash cans. In the parks that do have cans are the oil barrels, which were never supposed to be used for trash. We need to put trash cans on our public parking lots here in downtown. There's a mess because there's no trash cans. Also, trash cans on our downtown, the sidewalks, those cans are all worn up. They smell pretty bad. I got a call from Maricela Ibarra Garcia from the P.O. Box Company store on between 2nd and 3rd on Pauline Avenue about her trash can. I went to see it, and it smelled terrible. There was flies all over, and the can was empty. We need to replace those cans. Also, I called Parks Department to tell them that we need the pressure washer so they could wash the sidewalks in the downtown because they were a mess, and also in the parking lot on 3rd and Heber because it's feces and urine and it smells. And I was told that they don't have any, that they have to borrow it from, I think it's a sewer plant, and sometimes they cannot borrow it. So we need a pressure washer just for the Parks Department so they could clean our sidewalks and our parking lots. Oh, the baseball field at Rodriguez Park, I said it before, and it's a big mess. I started cutting down those bushes because the city, they don't have enough people to do it. But I only went so far. I can't do no more. We need someone to go and cut those bushes down because it looks like a jungle, like a big mess. Fire hazard also. It's next to the fence by the residents. The fence around the baseball field is in really, really bad shape. Sections of the tubes are rusted, are breaking breaking in pieces. There are holes all around the field. People go in through those holes into the park to vandalize. Like right now, there's graffiti on the bathrooms. All those have, the backstop is leaning also. And also, why can't the city charge Vincent Memorial a user's fee for the students to park their vehicles there? Every day, you could count at least 45 to 50 vehicles parked there. And that's good money that could be collected to prepare that parking lot, to bring it back to the way it used to be with grass and plants. Now it looks like a desert, all dried up, nothing but dirt. Also, there's a sidewalk, there's a section on 500 block of Grant Street. There has never been a sidewalk there. And I don't know why those people, they pay their tax like just everybody else, but they don't have the full service. I talked to them, they said they would like a sidewalk. One person told me that he moved in 1973 and there has never been a sidewalk in that section. It's about 4 houses with no sidewalk. There's a sidewalk from Pierce going west, and then right there in front of Gibson and Schaefer, no more sidewalk until about 4 houses down. Then it starts again. So how come there's never been a sidewalk? Those people told me they would like to have a sidewalk. They never had one before. And also, if I still have time, the big blue abandoned warehouse on 5th and Pierce. Somebody already broke the lock, the gate to go there into the property. There's lots and lots of trash on the next to the building, on the parking lot. A big fire hazard. I don't know if the door is open. I couldn't go down there because I can't be climbing upstairs. But the gate is open and there's lots of trash. Yes, that's private property, so the owner should be contacted and have them clean up and lock the place up. And then, what about those buildings where Tortas and Beer used to be on Cesar Chavez? I heard that was city property. Is it? Can you tell me? Nobody can tell me that's city property? Well, if it is, it's a big liability. I don't know how come those buildings are still standing after this a person was found dead this summer. And after all those fires, and right now I passed by this morning, and in the section where Tortas and Beer used to be, I saw homeless going in and out. I don't know what the city's waiting for another fire, for another fatality. I don't know how come those buildings have not been torn down. They were supposed to be torn down a long time ago, and they're still standing, waiting for another tragedy to happen. So, I hope all these things are taken into consideration, and many of these things, like I said before, I have brought up many times to other previous city council, and I'm doing it here again because nobody has done anything about these. Hopefully, this time, this city council will. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Next, we have our former mayor, Kim.
Okay. Officially today, Happy New Year. And yesterday was New Year for the moon calendar. And this is going to be a last of the happening unusual. And somebody be prepared to get lucky, or somebody be prepared to get worse down. And it's going to be big happening this year. And anyways, it's happening in the city of Calexico. I was mentioning last night meeting, and the city of Calexico, they've been closed down. The communication with the community closed to the 2 years. No commissions meetings. They're the one who more engaging, like Jesse, the engaging of the community. They're the ones ears and the voice of the community. And you guys shut down. And then you guys making own decision without listening them. And like a Major H, they're supposed to be meeting with the Major H fund plus the safety of the DC city. And what happens right now, firefighters are complaining, the overloading on them. City of Calexico failing to serving this level of the safety of the community. And you guys, or past council, they bragging, they made the budget, balanced the budget with the 18 police officers. That's joke. We're supposed to have about 50 police officers. What happened to the city of Calexico between the city of El Centro? How they can managing around 50 officers in city of Calexico? We have 18 police officers, and the problem with the dispatchers, they have a short hands. We have to provide safety first, and we are not. And failing, our police officers, our firefighters, they are jeopardizing their safety before they're doing it. They're helping the community. And when Mr. Moreno was elected, I was happy. Probably he could be more focusing on our safety officers. He had experience, and he was failing. I don't know how many city council members are going to be with him, or how many city council members pay weight on our citizens' safety, and plus their safety. Police officers have 18 members, we not. We should have around 50. So we need to find the funds, and yesterday I was asking to the city manager to deal with the county to get the fund from all the money we needed, and so much program, and city of Calexico is years they're not asking the money to the state and the counties. And we need to make the more teamwork with the county to bring their help. Why city of Calexico doesn't get any attention from the county, and county pay attention all the other cities? Even the Heber, they have nice project in there. What happens to Calexico? Why? But yes, city manager said we're gonna work closely with the county, but we don't have any answer. We don't have any result. So please don't, more than the talking, to bring things down to the Calexico, serve the community. I believe it's not only for the city manager's abilities. City council members should be focusing there too. So they are, the police chief was saying to stand up together to bring the issues, bring the help for the community. That's our job, elected person's job to doing it. And I was sad when I heard that a city council member tried to get the $7,000 money for the essential employees. It was joke. It was really joke. I don't know. Maybe our President Biden, he's going to have a $10 million because he's essential employees. We are the one who represent the community. So please, focusing our community. And I believe we have able $7.2 million balance. Look, the proposal from the city managers, from the listening people, those who want, we already have a money set aside, or we can ask the city, the county or state to bring the money down. Yes, we are short of the staff. Every department, not only fires, every department, they short of the staff because city of Calexico, we throwing a lot of money with the developer. They call the developer, but they're not developing. Or they're making false developer like Grand Plaza. We are paying $500,000 every year for them. So why we not focusing, saving some money from us, from our expenditures, and try to serve the community? I believe a lot of people, they are born in here, they are all the family base in here, they have a love with this county and cities, but council is failing to serve the community. It's not only one person's ideas that can be done, and they should be working together to bring the issues to community. And the money, money we're talking about, the $7.2 million, we should focusing money on our seniors, parks for the youth, and the public safety is important than anything, public safety. We need to have enough staff and give them enough tools so they can protect our safety. And please, do we work with the county? We have I believe in Ireland they have fires in the mobile home center, and we have several trailer parks, and we're not paying attention on it. Very guilty, they're injuring the people that are living down there. But this belongs to the county. City will have to work with the county together to help them, please. And again, the money, what we have talking about the $7 million, we should focusing on serving the seniors and the park for the youth and the public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Griselda Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. I'm Griselda Gonzalez, speaking on behalf of the CPOA. I have a question tonight that I hope it gets answered very quickly. How much does our city administrators care about the employees and the community? We have been coming to you for months pleading to hire personnel. One gets hired here and there, but never reaching the standard of what is needed. Dispatchers are still needed. There's 2 vacancies needed to be filled. For example, today, I believe there was only 1 dispatcher, 1 officer for about 5 hours alone for the whole city. And this is not the only time it's happened. It's happened several times. Other times where there's no scheduled or available dispatcher to work. This is probably going to happen on Friday and Saturday. We have nobody available to work. Why? Because we have no personnel. Is it a coincidence that POA and the Fire Association are both requesting hiring of personnel? No, it's not. It's what's needed. Public safety is dispatch, police officers, and fire EMS. We are greatly suffering from lack of personnel. Employees are ordered to stay over day after day, putting in, for us in dispatch and even officers, 16-hour shifts. Coming into work on days off because we are ordered in, even when we have worked over 20 hours of overtime a week. Now, the city says that you care about mental health. What about our mental health? Not being able to disconnect mentally from this stressful, demanding job will eventually reflect out on the field. And for dispatch, receiving calls of service, affecting our personal lives, having to cancel doctor appointments, family events, coming in sick or even injured. Public safety is working on skeleton crews. Our community deserves better from you, and your employees deserve better from you. It's embarrassing having to tell people in need of service to stand by for delayed response due to the lack of personnel, oftentimes getting yelled at or cursed over the phone. Make public safety a priority. Hire dispatchers, hire police officers, hire fire. The city continues to grow, but our employees for fire, dispatch, and officers do not. We're still small. We're not able to reach out to the vast majority of community members and even travelers coming in. So as Mr. Pesqueira mentioned earlier, please help us. How many more times do we have to come and request and plead for employees to be hired? Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments. We now have the city manager's report.
Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, I just want to bring to the attention of everyone that yesterday we had a public workshop entitled the ARPA use for the city of Calexico for the remaining funds. I would like to share that we had a good turnout. We had a lot of people expressing their thoughts, just like Mr. Kim alluded to in his remarks. I think, as we all know, there are multiple needs that need to be addressed. What was presented last night is basically the feedback that we got from city departments, from the community, and also messages that the city manager's office received. So with that said, as we discussed at the previous city council meeting, we'll be bringing before you recommendations based on the feedback that we have received. We had elected officials last night. I'm happy to share that we had members of the city council attend and be part of the communication that existed with those that came in. We had County Supervisor Escobar that represents Calexico also here. He was also emphatic from a resident standpoint as to where he feels Calexico needs help on. So all I can share with you is that we got a vast amount of feedback through the representatives also of community groups that have been very vocal as it pertains to their wish for the use of ARPA monies. So I just want to come back and report that what I presented to you at the last city council meeting did take place, and that was last night. I also want to, on a second point, I want to conclude my participation by saying that currently the Public Works Department is working on different procurement opportunities where we can actually address some of the issues that were brought up tonight. Specifically, Mr. Jesse Garcia, I think he left, but I wanted for him to know that there are a couple of things that he raised that are currently being worked on, but given that we're a government entity, there's a procurement policy that we have to follow when we secure services or acquire specific equipment, so we can just follow through and make sure that we're vetted the right way and that we comply with a lot of the requests from our state controller's office. So with that said, one of the things that I heard also earlier today was making sure that we do a better job in coming and providing updates as a staff, and that is something that we will be doing just as we did today with a concern that was raised by those residents from Las Casitas. We were able to share some of the things that are in progress. These are not definite solutions, I want to be clear, but the work in progress that we're doing to address those concerns, please expect in future meetings follow-up updates on the other items that are being brought to our attention. So with that, Mayor, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Figueroa. Our next item is City Council comments and our reports of meetings attended. Anybody want to go first? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, sure. I'll be quick. I know it's getting a little bit late. I had the pleasure to attend the Black and White Art exhibit. As always, it was a very good event, a very good event put together by our Red Department, by our Arts Commission, and by the entire staff. So it was great. Then also, I just want to go back to one of the items that were put under, it was under our consent agenda on our previous meeting. It was accepting a grant for SIP books, I think. And I just wanted to make sure that, I acknowledge that, because again, those are services that go to our community. And, I hear the community, so it's important that we highlight those things. And I know we had a very heavy agenda, for our previous meeting, past meeting, but I just wanted to make sure that that didn't go unnoticed. And then also I want to take, time to, express my condolences to Sergeant Legaspi on the loss of his dear mother. So I had a chance to go to the services. So Sergeant Lagaspi, you're on our prayers. Thank you, Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I did attend Mexicali Mayor's 100 Days information that they normally do once they go into office, along with our mayor, Moreno. And also attended our Imperial County Transportation Commission meeting. Attended the Stone of Hope ceremony that was done last Saturday. And also, last night I was here with the American Rescue Plan Act, the Citizens Proposal workshop that we had. It was, like I said, it was well attended, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to my left, go ahead.
Thank you. Congratulations and hell, I wish all those who celebrate the Chinese New Year, Happy New Year. And second, I wish to thank the assistance of all the people who attended the workshop yesterday to discuss the ARPA matter. All proposals are very important to me. In my opinion, Mayor, we need to work with the administrator to submit a new proposal. It's my opinion. And finally, my condolences to the Legaspe family. That's it.
Thank you. Sudaraña?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My apologies, my lungs are still recovering from the bad air quality days that we've been having. Before I begin with my comment, I'd like to invite Mr. Pesqueira. I know I would love to talk about the police and the fire. I would ask you to please, if you could stay for the budget update that we're going to have on item number 7, or if you have to go to at least rewatch it, because we have to triangulate between the city manager's department, the council, and the departments that are being affected to see what's going to be the strategy to fill and fund those positions as soon as possible with the equipment needs and the facility needs that your departments are facing. I want to make sure that the departments are aware of those situations so that we can work and coordinate some solutions. I wanted to focus my comment on ARPA specifically. I'm very grateful that we had good community attendance for the ARPA presentation. I learned a couple things from that ARPA workshop. I'm very grateful, I'm very proud. This is from what I know at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only Valley city that had an ARPA community-focused workshop that sought community input. But obviously from listening first, then comes action. I would say anywhere between 60 to 80% of the community was not happy with the department plans on its own. Obviously, there's some caveats that I'll get to. I think, quite frankly, there were some people that were offended that things like airport terminals, city employee bonuses were put in front of the needs specifically of the people, essential workers, farm workers, grocery workers, healthcare workers. And no es regaño, because we haven't made any decisions. This is the reason we're having these discussions. But I definitely do have some preemptive concerns on where we're going. In 2020, 3 out of 5 council people lost their seats due to the insensitivity around the eviction moratorium, the insensitivity towards the needs of the most essential workers and the lowest income workers here in the city of Calexico. This proposed ARPA, the cannabis spending that was supposed to fix the restrooms for the farm workers and other decisions that were taken, I don't think we've changed enough. We've changed a lot of things, but one thing that we haven't changed is our sensitivity to the lowest income people in the city. We still don't publish meetings in Spanish. We did for maybe like 3 months, and then we went back to English only. One thing that I learned from that ARPA is we have a structural problem with grant writing that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Apologies, let me just take a breath. I understand the strategy behind the administration's proposals. That strategy is sensible, it's a smart strategy, and that strategy is to defer as many needs as possible to other funding sources like the county and the state. The implementation, however, is a little bit questionable, and I need more safeguards before proceeding with a plan like the one that was proposed, and to ensure that the people's needs that were vocalized are actually addressed. At this meeting, at the ARPA meeting, there was a person by the name of Alexis Castro, who is a Calexico that works in Sacramento, who is very well versed in budget processes and grant applications. And his observation was that if the city of Calexico wanted to get the most bang for their buck and defer as much of the funding to other sources, he noticed the absence of Calexico's applications to a broad category of state funding that would have done this. We didn't apply for grant opportunities for broadband. We didn't apply for grant opportunities for parks. We didn't apply for grant opportunities for housing, for air quality, for clean water and water infrastructure. All of these new funding sources that are available due to a budget surplus at a state level. And now, at least with the proposal, we're planning to spend it out of ARPA. When just about a year ago, from a year ago, I've been waiting for two particular RFQs to come to this council, and they haven't gotten here. An RFQ to get a grant writer without a retainer, whether it's exploring the possibility of an in-house grant writer or going out for a temporary grant writing service. And then a second RFQ for a nonprofit organization that can help us develop grant writing skills specifically for parks. There have already been certain nonprofits that said they would apply for such an RFQ, and those just haven't gotten here, and now we want to spend money from ARPA to fill those needs. I think is not responsible and not congruent with the strategy that administration is proposing. At an individual level, we do have some problems with grants. About a year ago, I proposed, just like the city of Salinas did, as soon as ARPA came out, they hired bilingual staff in their city that would help their community members apply to all the relief that was available at all levels for the COVID pandemic. We're talking about eviction relief, mortgage relief, business relief, funeral expense relief, PPP loans, rental relief applications. And that wasn't done. That would have cost us like $50,000 to $100,000. We didn't move our fingers. The county then comes to this podium, Esperanza Colio, tears in their eyes, nobody's applying. And to this day, previously we didn't do anything, the county didn't do anything, still hasn't done anything. And so you would forgive me for wanting those safeguards. Just today in the newspaper, the county came out. Despite urgency, county misses grant deadline for a housing project in El Centro. You would forgive me for wanting to see the entire strategy and the safeguards before voting on an ARPA plan. At this point, I don't trust the county will come through until they make a voting commitment to the things that they say that they want to help us with before we spend our money. Lastly, Mr. Gilbert Grijalva made a very good point about Calexico. He said, back in the day, Calexico had a legendary sales tax density when it was a walkable city in the 70s and the 80s. And that's a very good observation when we're talking about downtown renovations and ARPA spending. We need to position our ARPA spending, the downtown improvements, to be more than street lights and trash cans. we need to talk about restrooms. We need to talk about things that are congruent to a walkable city, things that are good for essential workers, and just marinate a little bit more of a holistic plan. I think we still have a long way. We need to act with urgency. Obviously, we've already taken too much time to think about ARPA. We do need to act with urgency, but we also just need a better plan. And so, God willing, I hope that the community can continue to come together, marinate better ideas, and we can proceed with this ARPA plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
A few items I'd like to address. The first one is, first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Arena for being the recipient of the Stone Hope Award. Mr. Arena, congratulations on that. Thank you for your commitment to community and your advocacy towards justice and equality. Thank you very much on that. Also like to point out and as Mr. Garcia said, with Sergeant Legaspi's mother passing away also, my condolences to the family as they go through this time. The other item I want to bring up, I did attend also the black and white activity we had at the Carmen Durazo. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia was also there. We talked quite a bit about how important is culture here in Calexico, and we need to do a little bit more in support of that in terms of recreation and in terms of people that we have in the community who are very talented. I also attended the workshop last night. It was kind of brief because I had an emergency to go, but my plans would stay there. I did catch up on some other points by my colleagues were saying they were duly noted on that, and we're working towards Mr. Figueroa, city manager, to implement some of those items. Also, I did attend the El Centro Naval Air Facility Community Leadership Forum, where we talk about all those issues, whether it's ARPA, how everything that COVID-19 has taken in the communities, and how we struggle with public safety and everything else that all the municipalities here in Imperial County. We had different representatives from different cities there also as well. Also, to underline again, I am a member there of the California League of Cities of Public Safety Commission, where we're going to be addressing those issues with its legislation, specifically staffing. It's hard, I know. It's been a subject that we've talked extensively for a couple of months now, and as moving forward, I would tell you that the public safety in our city that I am very involved with that. I speak from experience and authority because I was a police officer for many years, and I know you guys are coming from. I live those experiences. Trust me, it's not a good feeling, but so we are working towards maybe addressing some of those issues and find some resolution for you guys. And I also attended the Mexicali, Baja California, 100-day State of City Adrift, where the mayor there, Manuel Bustamante, kind of pointed out the few items that were important for the municipality for the last 100 days. I did attend it with Councilmember Arriola. And also, I do speak with Mrs. Baez, who's very good voices in terms of the B.V. Williams and M.B. Martinez issue with the stop signs there. And I did try to reach out to her last week. She's been trying to get a hold of me, but for one reason or another, her phone's not working. I am going to reach out to her because I did have had a conversation with her, face-to-face conversation with her and a couple of members of the community. So to give her an update. I know I heard from another neighbor that she wasn't very happy that put those stop signs the way they were. But like I told the neighbor, it's just a study we're doing right now to address our issues there on B.V. Williams. And that's my statement. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the consent agenda.
I need to excuse the number 5, please.
You need to move for discussion?
Yeah, for discussion.
So, Mr. Figueroa, we want to move that to the Discussion? It's item number 8? Huh? No, right?
Did they already approve?
You could vote on the other consent calendar item and then hear that item separately.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hear it separately then.
Correct. So you can take an action on item number 6 under consent, and then we can go back to number 5.
Okay. Anybody second that? Okay. Anybody second that?
Second?
She was already made a motion then.
That's the second, no? I have a motion, and second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. I will.
Now we can hear item number 5 separately.
Okay.
Separately, yes. Thank you. Okay, so now we're at items pulled from consent agenda for discussion.
For discussion number 5, yeah. Miguel, I honestly do not understand some descriptions of the expenses. For example, in the first page is for Aguilar Saúl, 4 times Aguilar Saúl, for 1,050.45, and car wash, landscaping. I don't understand this description. And only one day. Clarify for me, please.
Yes, Councilwoman, the examples you give pertain to the fogging services that are provided for public facilities as it pertains to the disinfection of the facilities for any COVID-19 related matters. There are also services that are provided by particular vendors to the other 2 items that you reference that are within the expenditure budget that the City Council approved at the beginning of the fiscal year. The system that we have provides the printouts that you see, which oblige with the requirement of the State of California, the Department of Finance, and the State Controller's Office for us to present to you. If there are specific items like the ones you reference, I can definitely work with the Finance Department to make sure that we provide you the specific description of each of the expenditures.
Is possible more specific the description for other expenses? For example, uniforms. Wow. Several expenses. I don't know what is the department. 3,050.82. No.
Like I mentioned, Councilwoman Romo, I would be more than happy to address your concerns. At the moment, the way the City of Calexico has done this is based on the system that we follow and use. The way the items are provided here are congruent with the claims that get processed, that are vetted to make sure that they fall within the expenditure budget of every department. That's part of an internal control that we have to make sure that we keep departments within the expenditure levels that I'm going to reference in my presentation.
Okay, but I need more transparency for this expenditure. But for example, Colonial, we need more information for this expenses, in my opinion.
One option
Okay.
that I can offer you is we have the claim that supports each expense in this report. I would have to see a suitable way, because at the end of the day, the claims go through a 3-signature process. that is explained and summarized, that has all the backup information for each expenditure. I would just have to figure out how it is that we get every claim into your agenda packet, so you can see the specific description that you're alluding to, or that you're requesting to have. That would be a way where you can specifically identify every expense that occurs on a monthly basis. That would, however, take up some reams of paper, but that is an option that I put forth. I take your recommendations as my governing board, and I'll be happy to oblige and follow whatever you request.
Okay, thank you. In my opinion, we need maybe one workshop for this item. Is possible?
You guys direct me. I serve the needs that you request.
Okay, I need to explain more in Spanish. Cuando tú vas a ver un presupuesto, no importa quién estamos aquí o dónde trabajemos, todo City Council que entre aquí a esta posición tiene que tener una información de qué exactamente se gasta en la ciudad y cuáles son exactamente las descripciones. ¿Por qué? Porque todos los que estamos aquí, los 5, autorizamos estos gastos. Y tal vez muchos de nosotros no conocemos las partidas contables con las que se gastan. Hay muchas transferencias también. Muchas transferencias de ciertas partidas que nosotros tenemos que conocer. Entonces, al menos cuando yo estuve en la Calexico Unified School District, aquí tengo a Hortensia enfrente, siempre se nos dio un detallado informe, un workshop, aquí está también el señor Kim, para poder comprender cada una de las partidas que se gastan. ¿Sí me explico? Porque ¿cómo voy a saber que están gastando X cosas los departamentos de policía, el departamento de bomberos? O sea, se necesita. Nosotros no trabajamos aquí, recuerden. Somos personas de la comunidad que venimos a autorizar un presupuesto importante, pero si tú no tienes, puedo tener todos los conocimientos del mundo. Yo tengo la especialidad en financiera, soy financiera, conozco bastante de contabilidad. Pero cada presupuesto tiene sus diferentes partidas. Tengo un año aquí pidiendo, hace 6 o 7 meses, Miguel, estoy pidiendo reunirme para que se me explique de qué manera corren contablemente estos números. Y yo sigo autorizando estos paquetes financieros sin tener esa comunicación. Discúlpame, pero yo ya no voy a volver a autorizar absolutamente nada si no se me da a mí una preparación exactamente de lo que yo necesito saber para poder autorizar cada presupuesto y cada gasto que aquí se está diciendo. Porque mañana pasado, ¿a quiénes van a auditar? Al señor y a nosotros que autorizamos. Con todo respeto, no tengo ninguna desconfianza con el administrador, lo aclaro, pero es necesario conocer cada partida que se gasta y cada departamento, los conceptos y las descripciones. Yo invito a todo el público en general a ver si le entienden cuando abran esto en la web, a ver si le entienden lo que dice aquí. Si yo, que tengo tantos años en esto, digo yo, ¿de qué se trata esto? O sea, no es porque tenga desconfianza, Miguel, es que necesito saber. Estoy autorizando ciegamente, sinceramente, no puedo seguir así. Por lo tanto, si no se me da a mí un workshop para conocer cada uno de esto, específicamente hablando cada partida que aquí se autoriza, yo no vuelvo a autorizar un balance de esta naturaleza, ni nada que tenga que ver con finanzas. Gracias.
My question is this, Miguel. I entiendo lo que está diciendo. I understand what you're saying, Ms. Romo. But I think that I feel this is just my feeling. We get this, and we're entitled to be able to ask you the backup, aren't we?
Yes.
I mean, I could come to you and ask you, I see Verizon $1,000 here. That was a question that I had. I think I brought it up to somebody. So if I could come to you and ask you, could you give me a backup on this? Is there, I mean, how could it be an easy way for us to be able to, or for her to be able to understand?
Absolutely. So let me just share something. At least under the time that I've been a City of Calexico employee, and right now you're going to see this in a graph, from the time there was a fiscal debacle because of the lack of internal controls. From there was a plan in place that has been vetted, approved by the State Controller's Office, by the Department of Finance of the State of California, as to how we conduct our fiduciary responsibilities as a municipality in the state of California. There are CFRs that must be followed so we can comply with the audited requirements of our governing bodies from a finance side, which is the State Controller's Office and the Department of Finance. That is why on an annual basis, and I'll show it in my presentation right now, we have a third-party audit that is indirectly looking at our numbers because they're not part of the City of Calexico, that confirms that we have obliged in expending every penny as the budget calls for that the City Council approves. Like I mentioned, I'm here to serve your needs. If I need to further discuss with each one of you how this is done and how it's been approved by the two authorities that overwatch our department, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Mr. Figueroa, I know we do have briefings with you, and that's where I come up with, you answer all my questions all the time. Whether if it's budget, whether it's this and that, operations, that's when we have the brief, specifically on the agenda items. So, I mean, I'm satisfied with that, especially if we have measures in place. I mean, our stack was gonna be like this, we wanna put all, and they're all there for review anyways, right? We ask you.
I think Councilwoman Romo has a valid point, and I would be very happy to address and help her out with her request.
Right.
I could agree with the transparency, but I think just to make it a little bit more easier for whoever wants to see a detailed report or description, I think this comes down to description.
Yeah.
Of the expenditures and understanding really the process. I understand very clearly, and I've been part of, audits and, single audits and all these things, that vet, your expenditures and your program compliance. But perhaps this has to do with understanding the description of the items. And maybe if we can just do a list of things, I understand on the uniforms. Well, we have to pay for cleaning services of uniforms of our employees. That's what that is. For me, that's what that is, unless I'm wrong. But I see, and I can tell you that every time I see something, I even do my own research. Who's the company? Who's local? Who's not? The Verizon chargers, well, that's for switchboards. That's for, security, services purposes. All those things. So a lot of that is there. I will question, and that I do ask my questions when something is not clear. When there is maybe a high expense that I need to understand. Why are we paying twice? So that is there. And I think, it's there, and it's there not just for us, but for everyone that, wants to get a description, wants to get an explanation. I think, now more than ever, I know that Gabby responds to a lot of public records requests, which is part of the process. So we're not hiding. We're not trying to trick the system, because the system has its own ways of check and balances. So to me, I will continue to ask my questions as I have done, because I think there is a lot of work to be done, and just to add another layer of requests, and I have my own. I'm guilty of that. But I think I'm more of that, wanted to share information with the community. And again, the community has access to this through different avenues. So they're there, but for me, at least I'm okay, and I will continue to ask my questions the way that I've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Zarela? Fernandez, you have anything?
I said the same thing.
Same
I
thing?
feel the same way. I think if I have a question, I will go directly to him and have it explained to me versus having, tons of paper in front of me. And I feel that, this is, we have the briefings. We have access to this prior to our meetings. So, we have enough time to question it if we want to. That's the way I feel. But we're all different. We all approach things differently. But the way I see it is that if I have a question, I'm going to come directly to you. If I see that there's a number here that I don't understand, because, I'm not a finance person. But, we could, by looking at it, I'm sure that we're going to be able to catch something that doesn't look right. And that's my
Well,
thinking.
In this particular case, it didn't seem, but Mr. Figueroa explained to Mr. Romo exactly the process and what was it for, and he remembers it. So, Ms. Romo, are you satisfied with, the answer on that one?
Yeah, but my vote is
Okay.
not.
Okay.
Mrs. Moreno?
I think the one piece that's missing here, it's good for us as council people to have the access to the city manager, but I think what happens here, we have one city clerk, and oftentimes it's a struggle for her to keep up with the public records requests. So if we expect community members, every time, there's a community member that's curious about a certain charge, to say, you have to go to Gabby, and then Gabby has 10 days to respond to you and give you the information. And every single time that a community person wants to do that, they have to go to Gabby. I don't think that's very efficient. The most efficient thing to do, not just so we have the information, but for the public to have the information, is just to put it all with the packet and put it all online if it's not too much labor. If it's easy to do it, just do it so we can avoid a lot of public records requests. It's not just for us to have access to the information, because I know I can come to Miguel and get that claim. But if that claim is a public record, it should just be made public. I think that the concern is a little bit more with the community having access than the council.
We're here to serve you. If there are ways where we can improve what we're doing, we're here to do that.
Ms. Romo?
That's perfect. No comments.
So, and with that, if the discussion is over, I move to approve, item number 5.
No approve.
Hold on, we're gonna vote. Okay, so anybody motion?
I second.
Second on that? So you make a motion, who seconds it?
Second.
You wanna second it? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No? Okay, motion passes 3-2. And now we have item number 7, fiscal year 2021, 22nd quarter budget status report and proposed budget amendment.
We have a presentation, Mayor. Just give it a minute so it warms up. Gabby, just do the same thing you did right now, please. Mayor Pro Tem, can I start?
Sure.
Okay. So the second quarter budget report that we have here before you is for fiscal year 2021, 2022. Next slide, please. The purpose of this presentation today is for you folks to receive this report. monitor the 6-month year-to-end date expenditures, which takes us as the second quarter to the half point of the fiscal year 21-22. Update you folks on the general fund projections. There are amendments to the budget as we normally bring to your attention on every quarterly report. In order for this to move forward, we seek a resolution that amends the budget so we can be congruent with the requirements that are brought to our attention, not only for audited purposes, but to be in compliance with state regulations. That's fine, Mr. Kim. And the third purpose, the third item, which is the purpose of why we bring this to you, is to begin to look at the 2022-2023 budget development calendar. Like we've done for the past 4 fiscal years, we've stayed within the cycle of the budget calendar that all municipalities must follow. So we're ready to present to you an updated calendar for that. Next slide. One back, please. Can you go one back, please? There we go. Oh, so basically right now, we're at the halfway point, like I told you. I'm very happy to share that our major funds, which is the general fund and the operating grant funds, are at where percentage-wise they need to be at the half-year mark. We are a little under the 50% expenditure for their general fund at 48, and for the operating grant funds we're at 44, which basically brings us to the halfway point, which is 50%, meaning that we're on pace to expend the monies as the budget that you folks approved called for. I do want to point out that the capital debt funds, as we know, is, at this point, we have a capital improvement program of over $100 million. I do want to point out that these are large-scale projects that go through a long-standing procurement process for them to get done. If I may remind everybody, we're looking at substantial improvements to our water and wastewater systems in the city. That is why you see the discrepancy in the percentage of use compared to the ongoing funds that we use to run the city. Next slide, please. To be more precise as it pertains to the expenditures by department, I'm very happy to share that, as you can see, everybody is within the threshold of where we need to be within the 6-month mark. As you can see, everybody's staying within the vicinity of the 50%. You will see that some of the amendments that we're proposing entail traffic control, and that has to do for the time that we had to incur additional expenses before the east port of entry got opened up for southbound traffic for hours after 2 p.m. Next slide, please. Also, as it pertains to the general fund revenues, I'm very happy to share that we continue to be stable and steady. Taxes and program fees both show returning strength to some of the pre-COVID projections that we had. In other words, we know the impacts that COVID-19 had to our budget. However, I'm very happy to share that we're recovering and getting back to a point in which we're seeing the trend of properly having the internal controls and the check and balance system in place, where our revenues are now beginning to be perceived as to the growth of what the city is experiencing in current times. I do want to share with you that we have HDL, who's our third-party sales tax auditor, that will be presenting us what is to be the highest revenue the city experiences on an annual basis, which is the 4th quarter of the calendar year, meaning the period October, November, December. We anticipate that we're going to have a very substantial growth in that 4th quarter, given that at the time the tourist restriction was lifted from the Mexicali commerce that we receive here in the city. One of the things that was brought up at the ARPA workshop last night, and it was brought again up today, that I want to clarify, as you can see in this slide, the last item there is the Measure H transfer, which is one of the items that is being part of the amendments of this second quarter report, in which we have $225,000 that are being put into our adjusted budget. That is because these are dollar amounts that came in higher than what we originally had budgeted for, therefore the adjustment. I also want to point out something that I know it has been discussed, but the Measure H tax ballot measure that got approved is a 50+1 tax measure. What that entails, it means that it's a general tax ballot measure, meaning that it's a general tax, it serves the purpose of the general fund. When you have a special tax measure, that requires a 2/3 vote by the community, which is specifically identified for projects that are unique for the use of the money. The reason I want to highlight this is because sometimes we've had some discussion as it pertains to Measure H. Measure H, again, not to be redundant, it's a general tax measure. Okay. One of the things also that I want to touch on this matter, because I know it's a sensitive matter for the members of our community, is the fact that there is a Measure H committee. There are matters that are being addressed right now by legal through our city clerk's office, in which we're looking to get up to par all the commissioners in the city of Calexico, not only through proper training, but the proper vetting that is needed. I do want to point out again the importance not to undermine the need for Measure H to convene. I want to be clear on that. I also want to point out that the Planning Commission has been meeting on a monthly basis as their schedule calls for, in addition to special meetings that have addressed a lot of the items that you have taken action on in recent months that pertain to development projects and changes to the municipal code. Next slide, please. This is a graph that reflects some of the issues that we know for the time being that the financial system in Calexico has experienced. Please note that in this graph, the orange line are expenditures, the green line is revenues. As you can see, in the period for fiscal year 2012, 2013, 2013, 2014, we see a very marked spike where expenditures doubled revenues, which is one of the biggest reasons that to this day we continue to still work to be back to par, where we have a sustainable general fund that can account for more hires, not only in public safety, but like it was also said, in every department in the city of Calexico. One of the things that I want to reflect is that for the past 4 fiscal years, as we can see, we've had a healthy revenue to expenditure comparison in which we've been congruent with expending the revenues that come in, which is basically the ground rule, the golden rule of a municipal budget. So I'm very happy to share with that. And this is not only the City of Calexico administration or finance department putting it out there. This has been vetted, like I've said, by the state agencies that oversee our operations and a third-party auditor that we also are mandated to secure their services so they can attest that what I'm sharing with you today is factual. Next slide, please. Okay, this is another way to depict the previous slide as it pertains to the fund balance trend. The fund balance is what dictates where we stand as it pertains to the money the city has to operate. As you can see, I'm not going to be repetitive, but you see that general fund balance being negative in the years that are highlighted for the reason that I shared with you in the previous slide. From there, you see the rebound to have a positive trend, which, as you can see, continues to grow on an annual basis. Expectation is if the same internal controls protocols and procedures that have been vetted continue to be in place, along with the expected revenues that will continue to come in, we expect to continue to have a positive fund balance. Next slide, please. So this is the amendment that's being requested today as part of the second quarter for fiscal year 21-22. I alluded to the increase of expenditures in traffic control. That matter has been addressed, and we will see a change in the future quarterly reports because we now have the East Port of Entry open beyond 2 p.m., now from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. for southbound traffic. There was the need to address some additional expenses for repairs at the former City Hall, which is now the Mexican Consulate. We addressed also some staffing that was needed for the community center. And there were some expenditures that were not accounted for the water tower, which we're currently in the process of having a real estate transaction. Grant allocations, I think it's been discussed. I believe a council member brought to the attention, and we recognize the library manager for working with her staff and securing a grant for her department. The same I can say for the recreation manager and her staff for securing a grant from the California Arts Council, that in recent meetings I asked them to come forward and explain to the community what those grants entail. In addition to some of the opportunities that we've tapped into that I believe the Planning and Building Services Director talked about today, from 2 grants that were secured, in addition to the ARPA monies that were secured to provide stipends to employees. Next slide, please. So one of the things that I referenced, for which the City of Calexico has been acknowledged by state fiduciary agencies, is that we are being on pace for the past 4 fiscal years to have a budget calendar that meets the criteria set forth in state regulations. I'm very happy to share with you that that does not change. Actually, we're actually doing a better job in moving up the dates for this fiscal year. One of the biggest things that I do want to highlight is that the annual independent audited for fiscal year 2020-21 is on pace to be completed, as we've shared with you in previous meetings. Again, point of emphasis, this will vet that every city expenditure has been followed based on the approved city budget. As we pertain to the next budget cycle, I want to share with you that we have a very detailed description of each of the steps that are going to be occurring on a monthly basis, so we can present to this council a budget for your consideration before the start of the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. I'll be very happy to answer any comments or questions you may have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Miguel, for...
No, I'm sorry. No, the only question that I have is that the fire department was on, the only thing that I saw was if they put in overtime, how was it that they were within their budget?
So the fire department is, Gary, can you go back to that slide, please? No, it would be slide number 1, 2, 3, 4. That one. Mm-hmm. As you can see, the fire department is within the range of the 50 percentile. Mm-hmm. What that entails is that they're on pace to fulfill their obligation to not go over their approved expenditure budget. Yeah. The fire department does miracles with the staffing that they have, and on top of that, being very, very careful in scrutinizing their expenditures to stay within budget. However, sometimes it's inevitable to continue to provide a service to the community in which overtime has to be accrued because the personnel staffing level is not there for the 3 shifts that they cover, so they could potentially avoid the need to have overtime expenditures. On top of that, I do want to point out that given that we're at the halfway point I think it has to be recognized that they are only 2 percentage points above where they need to be in their expenditures.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
If we go back to the slide tickets, go one more, Gabby, or, let me see, one more. Where I have the, no, actually, it's probably back, where we have the measure H, again. Go back, where we have the transfer. Anyway, Miguel, so we had about 225,000, for measure H transfer, right?
Yes, sir.
So, which went to the, general fund.
That one, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, I think that is great, but one of the things that I see, and it's very sobering to see that we are better financially. But to me also, what I want to see is that we need to start investing, and I don't want to say spending. We need to start investing some of those monies. And investing in our own human capital that we have had, come forward. It is good to have always a savings, a rainy day fund. But I think, I think I've said that before quite a few times. I think for me it's contradictory to continue to save and save and save, but yet at the same time we're starving. So if we're getting these monies from that community and that goes to the general fund, it's not just for fire or PD or, it's general. So, but if we can invest it, I think investing with an ROI that will help us continue to get more funding. It's part of that business 101 also. If you save it, yeah, you have it right there, but your return is very little. If you invest it, you take some chances, you take risks, but your potential return is huge. So we need to take chances. I hear you in all my accolades for seeing those graphs. Those are great, they look great, and they make me feel good. I remember 2015 sitting at those chairs right there.
Yeah.
And probably you were not here, but you will read about, what we were going through as a city. And now we're better. Now we're getting some money. But let's just start sharing those monies, whatever we can get. I think all of us will appreciate that, as community. And I think, I want to look at the faces of our, staff, our employees, our community, and say, you know what? We don't have much, but whatever we have, we're sharing with you. Because this is your own money that is coming back to you. Yes, I wish that I can have, 50, police officers. I wish that I could have another 50 firefighters and 10, 12, dispatchers. But it's not possible now, unfortunately. But we can make a real effort to say, well, you know what? Let's work on it. Let's invest. That's just something that I want to make sure that we get in our frame of thought, thinking that we're getting money, but let's invest it. Not spend it, invest it. And investing in our people, I think that has been something that has been said in this meeting, in every meeting, that we need to invest in our people. Our own people here, our people that are coming up. Earlier we had Dr. Johnson investing in our students, and I say students, not just young people, but the students. So it's an investment. I think we need to take the chance. Again, great for the graphs and great to see that, but we can continue to start. I want to see a little more investment. And yes, put away some money, but let's invest. Let's get back to the community. Let's have something for them to see, and not just see, but experience, where is there, hard-earned money going back to them, or how it's going back to them. So just think about that. Come back to us with ideas that we can look at. We can sit down and discuss those ideas also, and be efficient and effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Mr. Reyes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could not agree more with Mr. Garcia's comments. Just to add a little bit of mathematical perspective to the great points that he's making. Miguel, you told me that these $175,000, if we approve these adjustments, they would go into the reserve. Is that correct?
They would go to our fund balance.
Or into the fund balance. And as proposed, we would not touch them.
For the time being, sir, yes.
For the time being.
If I may just
Of course.
elaborate a little more on my answer. We come before you because we have an obligation on a quarterly basis to share with you the activities that have occurred that may merit an amendment, just as today, right? That's where we see if our revenues came in as projected, if they came above, if they came below, if our expenditures came in above or below, right? But I also want to remind this body that we have budget amendment resolutions that do not need to wait for the next quarter to come in. And I believe that is a mechanism that could be used to address your comment and the comment of the Mayor Pro Tem.
Excellent. So, I mean, this makes sense. Just analyzing the numbers, it's not the right time to save. I mean, the CPOA, the fire department, they're here. $175,000, $100,000 could get one paramedic/firefighter to cut down a little bit of overtime. That's an investment that generates savings. There's a lot of investments that generate savings, and we just need to get to them as fast as possible. I absolutely concur, and I can't wait to see the options.
Well, and again, if I may, those are the type of discussions and decisions that we have to make. Those are the ones that we're tasked to make. And I think we all agree, and I think Liz left, but she had some wonderful ideas. How to, make, her department, and so is the rest of the staff. But we need to support that. We need to take that chance. And not chance, but we need to invest. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Reinforcing that.
Right, so for me, it's always been a priority. I think anybody can argue this public safety, right? That's not one priority here for us, but it's just, for me, it's when do we do it, right? That's gonna be,
Okay.
As soon as possible.
yeah, as soon as possible, right? Mr. Romo?
For what is, Miguel, the transfer? What is the reason for 2025? Okay?
225,000.
225,000. What
Yes,
is-
Ms. Romo, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the measure age.
That's a
Yeah?
great question, and when I touched on this slide, I gave a brief description of the type of tax measure that Measure H is, just so we could all be on the same understanding that it's a general tax measure. What you have before you here is a recommendation to adjust the budget, because in this quarter, what we experienced was that Measure H came above what was projected for this quarter. So what you have before you, the reason there has to be a transfer is because we have to adjust our budget to reflect the positive change that we experienced in this quarter.
And I understand, but what is the commission for the measure age? What is your, your participation?
Yeah, the reason it was
Yes,
created.
Ms.
Uh-huh.
Romo, yeah, I'll be more than happy
Right.
to.
They disagree and disagree, I don't know.
So I can explain once again. I think you stepped away when I gave the explanation, but I'll be more than happy to repeat myself. Measure H is a 50+1 tax measure.
Yeah,
What that means is that's a general tax measure. What that entails by being a general tax measure, it's a general fund measure. So what that means is that any money that comes in, it goes to the general fund.
Yeah.
However, like you rightfully mentioned, when the measure was sold to the community and it was approved, it identified specific uses, right?
Right.
So the difference from this measure and a specialized measure, which requires a 2/3 vote, is that a specialized measure has a specific use that must be followed. When you have a general tax measure, it goes to the general fund, but you have a committee that makes recommendations, or in this case, the governing body, as to how that money gets used. The reason we have the transfer is because we came $225,000 above what we had projected, which is obviously fantastic news. And because of that, we can now considering that we also have an obligation to continue to fulfill the goal that this body approved in our budget to meet as it pertains to the fund balance come June 30th of 2022. If we meet that expectation and we have additional monies, you or the Measure H Commission can make recommendations. You can make recommendations and approve as to where that money should be used.
Okay.
And now, where does this saving go? $175,000.
Like I explained to Councilman Ureña, to answer his question, it's part of the fund balance the city has.
It's possible, at this moment, we need many needs, no? For the fire department, for example. It's possible transfer for fire department?
The process to accomplish that, to fulfill the requirements of the State of California Department of Finance, the State Auditor Controllers, is to do a mechanism that we have available, which is a budget amendment resolution, that it has to be vetted, discussed, to identify what those needs are. My recommendation, as part of that analysis, will continue to maintain a healthy fund balance that will fulfill the goal of the budget that this body approved.
Okay.
We got to vote on 9:30, right? 9:30.
If you guys wish to take a vote.
We want to wrap it up 5 minutes? Are we done? Because,
Yeah,
we
done.
should be,
right?
I think so.
Or do you expect to go further?
Motion to approve?
Okay, motion to approve. Any second?
do we have discussion?
Yeah.
Discussion more? More discussion? No?
Just one more. No, but, you know, you have your
Oh, no, that,
on the table.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Miguel, so this is just a procedural, item where we're just, you know, accepting
Okay.
pretty much this monies in doing this amendment. But what I want to make sure that I put on this also is that we will accept this just to move on, but what I would like to propose is that I want to make sure that we convene the Measure H committee so they can look at this and come back to us with recommendations as to how we can start using some of this funding. We need to do this, and I will move to approve this, but I want to make sure that, you know, the Measure H committee meets as soon as possible. We have been talking about compliance, and honestly, that might be in question whether we might be in compliance or not, you know, in doing all this decision-making without the input of this commission. So I don't know if legal, and I'm not gonna ask legal, but if we can look into that, because I don't wanna make decisions without the input of a committee that has been put in place to oversee this funding. So I put it on you to look at that as soon as possible.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, I have the answer for you to address that, and for the record, so we all know. The purpose of me being very specific and defining the type of tax measure this was, which is a general tax measure, does provide you that authority to provide that recommendation. However, if there was a commission that was put in place, there has to be a courtesy and respect for that commission to be informed of what are potential uses, that at the end of the day, you folks will vote as to what gets used for. So your point is a great one, and what you're approving for here tonight is only the adjustments
Right.
based on the revenues versus expenditures we experience.
And I totally agree with that explanation, I understand from the first time. But I just want to make sure that, again, we can approve it as a council. But I want to make sure, just like we have done it with all these workshops and meetings that we have had to get the input of the citizens, I want to make sure that this money goes through the citizens also, through the commission, and that they participate and they provide feedback. That's all I'm saying. And that should happen as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
So there's a motion on the floor?
Yes, before I proceed with it, I absolutely agree with that. I think this is probably gonna be one of the last times we have to do this. I think next quarter, we're probably
Right.
gonna get a net positive that is above the Measure H transfer. I think just good faith politically to try to keep whatever expenditure we make out of those 175,000 in line with what Measure H was supposed to be for is good faith for the community, and then next time just try to get that commission together.
That's all.
Mr. Kim, what's that? Just be brief, okay? Thank you.
Okay, major H money is supposed to, by the law, they have to go through the committee first. And then their recommendation comes to council, then council make a decision, yes, accepting or they not accepting. So I was mentioning is major H has to be the general fund, but still have to be through the commissioner's recommendation, then make a final decision made by the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion
To approve?
to approve? Anybody second?
Second.
Second by Flor. Okay, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Okay, last item is future item for agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if you wish to continue with the agenda, I would respectfully ask for the council to consider extending the meeting.
Okay, and then you had brought it up, right? You had brought it up to
What?
continue with the meeting? You had brought it up to,
future
you made a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Second.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Go on.
Okay, future agenda.
Who wants to go first?
Miguel, is the same request of the meeting of January 19, please? Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I just have two, which are the RFQs that I mentioned, the one for a grant writing consulting firm, and the one for the grant writing services from a nonprofit for park development.
Noted. Councilman, yes.
Okay, Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I would like to see if you can bring back the ordinance or whatever was passed for the arts in public places. I see that there's a plus balance in that of above of 150K. So I want to hear more about that. I want to see what the intended purpose is, what we have done, and just a good presentation, thorough presentation on that and backup. Thank you.
Noted, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you.
I don't have anything.
Nothing?
And if I do, I'll go back to you.
Okay, perhaps, I know I'm going to support Mr. Garcia's, when he mentioned about having our code enforcement give a presentation.
We
brief
had a
presentation of what-
presentation. What I ask is reports of activities
Yeah.
where code enforcement is being
that's
done.
right.
So if we can have it as an ongoing report
Yeah.
coming to us.
Noted, yes.
Thank you. Okay, I move to adjourn. Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.